I caught my wife cheating, confronted her affair partner, and exposed the truth to his spouse. I'm at a total loss. I do not know what to do. There were signs, but I missed them. I was blinded by love and never believed this would happen to me. Not with her, my wife and best friend of nearly 2 decades. I work out of town and wasn't meant to return until tonight. We were scheduled to travel for a 2-day road trip tomorrow. Work was sluggish, so I came home yesterday afternoon. This trip was planned to offer us some alone time after spending so much time with family and friends this summer. When I arrived home, there was a truck in my driveway that I did not recognize. My neighbor recently inquired how I liked the new truck, but I assumed he was incorrect and didn't think much of it. As soon as I saw the truck, I had a bad feeling. I loved and trusted my wife wholeheartedly, but that feeling was there, and it was powerful. I sneaked around the side of the house and into our bedroom window. It was open, and I could hear them as I approached. When I peeked through the window, my worst fears were confirmed. They were absolutely naked on my bed. I walked away. I've been fighting the impulse to do something I know I'll regret. At this point, I'm not sure I care what happens to me. I spent the night at my family's cabin and drank everything. Today, on my way home, I considered confronting her but decided against it. I am not ready. Anger is all I feel. All I can think of is violence. I'm not in a good place right now. Not good enough to see her. I'm back in the cabin now. I have 60 ounces of rum and have been staring at it for an hour. I want to get drunk and forget about it, but I don't want to make stupid judgments. I understand that this is a key moment in my life and my actions in the coming days will shape the rest of my life. That is why I am here. I need help. I'm not ready to speak with family or friends, so I'm reaching out to strangers. The quantity of help and guidance I've received is incredible. I honestly got choked up thinking about how many kind people out there are eager to help a stranger. It gives me hope for the world just when I need it. The downside of all this help is that I'm having difficulty responding to everyone. I have around 600 private messages and a few hundred comments on Reddit. I would like to thank everyone individually, and I will make an attempt to do so, but it will take time. For now, I'd like to express my gratitude to everyone for their nice messages and useful suggestions. It means so much to me. I've seen a few comments and queries that keep coming up, so I wanted to provide some clarity and a tiny update. If you can't tell, I am feeling much better today. The discomfort has nearly entirely vanished. I still feel like I've been hit in the belly, but I've started thinking about the future. It's barely been 2 days, so this does not feel right to me. Is this the quiet before the storm, or am I incredibly resilient? When I referred to my wife as my best friend, I was referring to the 2 roles she filled in my life. The other guy wasn't my best buddy or anyone I know. I didn't get a good look at him, but based on what I saw in his vehicle, I don't think he's somebody I know. We don't have children, but we were planning to have them soon. We recently sold our home and were planning to relocate closer to my employment in September, when the new owners took possession. I intend to thank my neighbor for tipping me off, but discreetly, as he did for me. Many folks have asked me about the signals I mentioned. Here are a handful that come to mind right now. She was texting really late at night. She began going out for after-work drinks with her buddies on a regular basis. This was unlike her, but I was relieved she was being social. She stated she went to yoga once a week but didn't pay because a coworker, who was also the instructor, offered her a pass in exchange for assisting with setup and cleanup. It struck me as unusual that she appeared rigid for someone who claimed to practice yoga. Unknown caller hang-ups become common. We generally answer one another's phones when we're close, but I responded multiple times only to hear someone hang up. We receive a lot of spam calls, however they are mainly from telemarketers or debt collectors attempting to contact the previous owner of our number. This type of hang-up is uncommon. When my brother came, we had a long conversation. He has been my true best friend and I've understood how vital it is to remember that he will always be there for me, without judgment, just as I would be for him. Even though we disagree on occasion, he truly defines what a true friendship is. Because I was scheduled to be home last night, I opted to answer my wife's text. We are not permitted to use phones on site at work, so it was appropriate for me to declare I could only text her. She knows I can easily sneak in a few messages. I texted her that I needed to visit one of the company's remote locations and wouldn't be able to call until the end of the weekend. I also told her I'd cancel our bookings and reschedule them later. She replied that she could bring her best friend with her to the romantic bed and breakfast on the vineyard that I had reserved. I realized it wasn't the best friend she wanted me to believe she had. I informed her that I had already handed the reservation to my brother and his wife because it was non-refundable, and they would reimburse me in a month. I canceled all of my other reservations this morning except for the romantic one. My brother is accompanying me instead. Fortunately, the hotel allowed us to move from the honeymoon suite to a room with 2 beds. There's also a gorgeous lake nearby with boat rentals, so we've turned this into a much-needed fishing trip. This trip means I'm free for the weekend and won't have to contact her for a few days. That reduces tension and provides me more time to contemplate. Right now, I'm considering getting divorced. I honestly don't see any other way. My brother is supportive, but he has encouraged me to wait a few weeks and speak with someone first. His wife has a buddy who is a couples counselor and is available to chat with me on Monday. I don't think it will change my view, but it might help me sort through some of this mess. I've also started seeking assistance from others online and contacting lawyers. At the absolute least, I want to be prepared for what appears to be an unavoidable situation. I want to do it the proper way. I never imagined she would try to deceive me, but I also never expected her to cheat. I need to be ready for anything. Thank you again, everyone. I'm going to attempt to enjoy my weekend to the fullest. Update 2, busted my wife. Cheating. A lot has transpired in the last few days. I'll start with the less crucial topics. My brother, Matt, and I drove nearly 5 hours to the Vineyard Bed and Breakfast. I genuinely appreciate his being there for me through everything. The drive ended up being more of a venting session than anything else, but it did help me clear my mind. After chatting about my feelings for most of the trip, I just needed some alone time. While Matt went out to dinner, I remained in the room. He brought me some food, which I appreciated. The following day we hit the water. Matt was able to hire a boat, and the proprietor of the B&B, knowing about our fishing plans, generously packed a small cooler with food and drinks. It was their attempt to make the romance package more useful for 2 brothers on a fishing trip. It was a thoughtful gesture on their part to make the romance bundle more beneficial to 2 brothers. The fishing wasn't spectacular. We both got a couple of trout but had to release them because of their size. The B&B snacks worked great. We stopped fishing in the middle of the afternoon and went around to vineyards and fruit markets, where we bought food and cases of wine for Matt's wife Jennifer. That night, we treated ourselves to the largest tomahawk steak we could find. On Sunday, we returned to Matt's apartment. He lives in the town adjacent to me, about an hour away. When we arrived, Jen was waiting for us, and we opened a cold bottle of white wine from the cooler. That's when my weekend officially ended. Jen informed me that, while we were away, she chose to spy on my wife. She claims the guy came to my house on Friday night and stayed all night. On Saturday morning, Jen arrived just as he was leaving. She followed him home and discovered the flat where he lived. My wife stayed there on Saturday night, sending me texts expressing her love and missing me. Jen revealed that she divided her time between visiting family in my town and following my wife. She happened to catch my wife leaving his apartment on Sunday morning and snapped a couple photos of them hugging and kissing before she got in her car. I do not want to see the photographs. That very much closed the deal for me. I don't think I'll ever trust her again. If she can lie so simply and tell me she loves me while she's with someone else. Despite everything, I resolved not to make any rash judgments based on emotion. I need to be cool and composed. Jen informed me that Sharon, the counselor she had mentioned earlier, was coming over for supper. Sharon was the person Jen scheduled an appointment with for me. To clarify, Sharon had never met my wife, and this was my first time meeting her. Sharon was a very pleasant girl, and we hit it off instantly. After supper, we took the dogs for a walk through Matt's neighborhood to have a private talk. Sharon was a great listener, and I felt comfortable being open with her, which was quite beneficial. Even though I am close to my brother, talking with Sharon was different, and much needed. It's the same reason I enjoy blogging on Reddit. It allows me to vent and untangle the jumble in my thoughts. Our walk lasted about an hour, and Sharon's only meaningful suggestion was to avoid delaying the conversation with my wife. She advised me that the more I wait, the tougher it will be to approach her. Sharon stated that I need clarity more than anything right now, and my wife is the only one who can deliver it. Later that night, Matt and Jen offered to let me remain with them for as long as I needed. I know Matt and I have boundaries when it comes to living in close quarters, so I contacted my supervisor. He was able to place me in business housing, where I had been staying every 2 weeks. Normally, I leave on my days off, but my boss has arranged for me to work full-time for a few months if needed. I chose to reschedule a session with Sharon for later this week, assuming that our walk would suffice for the initial meeting. She agreed. Sunday night, I lay in bed, contemplating how to approach the subject with my wife. Even imagined scenarios made me angry or sad. I decided to wing it. I am typically good under pressure. Yesterday, I awoke, said farewell to Matt and Jen, and drove home. I worried what I would do if the guy was there when I arrived. I recognized that meeting him would definitely return me to the same angry state I had been in a few days before. To avoid this, I decided to perform a drive-by first. Neither his truck nor my wife's automobile were present. I walked inside and gathered a variety of necessities and items I didn't want to part with, primarily photos and old family treasures. I packed everything into my pickup and drove over to the guy's residence. Her car was not present either, but his truck was. I decided to text her to ask where she was. She stated she was going to grab groceries. I don't trust her right now, so I stopped by the grocery shop to make sure she was there. I feel so horrible confessing that I did that, but my trust has been damaged, and it is the only way I can be certain of anything. I contacted her again, asking her to come home because we needed to chat. She said, "What's wrong?" I just told her to be honest and shut off my phone. She arrived home 15 minutes later. When she walked in, she came up to hug and kiss me, as she always does. I turned away from her. She asked me again what was wrong, and I told her that she needed to be more honest with me. She pretended she didn't understand what I was saying. I responded, "Okay, if you can't be honest, then I'm leaving." She panicked and inquired, "Are you talking about yoga?" I assumed it was a start, so I asked her what she meant. She stated that she had not been going to yoga. The remainder of the conversation proceeded like this. I said, "If you weren't going to yoga, where were you going?" Her response: "I was taking walks to relax because I've been really stressed lately." Me: "Why were you so stressed? And why did you lie to me about what you were doing?" Her response: "Preparing for the move has been stressing me out, and I didn't know how to tell you." Me: "So you choose to lie? What was the big deal about informing me you were going for a stroll to relieve stress?" Her: "I did not intend to lie, I was merely scared that my stress might exacerbate yours." Me: "But I am not stressed. You don't seem to be telling me everything." Her response: "What do you mean?" Me: "I believe you are lying about more than simply skipping yoga. I'm asking you again to be honest. You have already lied to me, so this cannot work if you continue to lie." Her: "I'm not sure what more to say. Are you referring to last weekend, when I went out for drinks with several pals and arrived home late? I had no idea she had gone for a drink or stayed out late. I was at work, a few hours away." I ask, "Is that what you actually did that night, or was that a lie too?" Her response: "I went for drinks that night." She subsequently revealed that she hadn't seen her best friend, whom she claimed to have been with. My response: "Who did you see?" She says, "No one. I just drank alone." This is me: "You drink alone now?" She responded, "Yeah, maybe I have a problem." Me: "Maybe. We'll discuss that later. This is your final chance to be honest, or I will leave." She responded, I don't know what else to say." Me: "Okay. I am leaving." At that point I stood up and departed. When we dispute, I usually go for a drive to calm down, so she assumed I was doing the same. But then she noticed I had brought my clothing, toiletries, and Xbox with me. That's when she began blowing up my phone. I informed her that I had given her the opportunity to be honest, but she did not accept it, therefore there was nothing further to say. She begged and pleaded with me to come home and discuss it in person. She kept repeating she didn't know why I was unhappy or what I felt she had done. She continued saying she loved me and would never hurt me. Hearing her say that ripped a new hole in my chest. Those words had always been consoling, but suddenly they felt like a dull, jagged knife cutting into my heart in the most agonizing way. I couldn't take it, so I hung up. She called back around 40 times before I was prepared to respond again. This time, she inquired, "Did you talk to Karen?" I asked, "Why?" She said, "Come home." I do not want to say this over the phone. I agreed and drove around a little longer to lower my heart rate. Then I headed home. When I arrived, the conversation went like this. She responded, "I assume you spoke to Karen?" Me: "No." Her: "A few weeks ago, when you were at work, Karen and I went out for drinks. A couple of guys began buying us drinks and we simply played along. As we were leaving, one of the guys attempted to kiss me. I instantly pushed away and informed him that I was married. I felt terrible about it and wanted to tell you, but I panicked and chose to keep it from you. Karen hooked up with the other guy and gave his friend my phone information without asking me. He has texted me several times, but I have never responded." My response: "Can I see your phone?" She says, "Yes." She handed me her phone, which was absolutely empty of text messages save for mine and her mother's. She never deletes her texts, so this was unexpected. I checked her photos and they were similarly empty. Then I searched through the deleted images and discovered one person I didn't recognize. My response. Who is this? Her? That's the guy who tried to kiss me. I replied, why did you take a picture of him? Her response? I was just being stupid. Me. That isn't the cause. Why did you take a photo of him? Her response was, I don't know. I ask, is that everything you want to tell me, or is there more? Her response? That's all I can think of. I departed again. I did not want to be fed any more trickle truths. I got into my pickup and drove away. She bolted outside, attempting to stop me, but I was already out of reach. I went to a local park, sat on my tailgate, and ate my lunch while deciding what to do next. While sitting there, I began to recall other things I should have been aware of. For example, I worked a weekend shift and went to bed early. My wife went out to the club with some girlfriends. I awoke at 4 a.m., and she was still not home. I contacted her multiple times, but she did not respond. About 30 minutes later, she called again and asked if I could pick her up. When I arrived, she explained that they had tried unsuccessfully to hail a taxi. A couple of males her friend knew gave them a ride, but they insisted on stopping at their home first. When they arrived at the men's residence, her married buddy entered a room with one of the guys. My wife stated she spent some time hunting for her companion but eventually gave up and had a drink in the kitchen with her housemates while waiting. When I called, she said she didn't hear the phone. We argued about this episode, and she expressed displeasure with her friend's behavior, saying she had cut that buddy out of her life. I assumed the situation was behind us. Another time, she went to see a close friend in a distant city for a girls' night. 4 girls were apparently drinking and watching movies in their pajamas. Around 1 a.m., she called to say goodnight. We spoke for almost 20 minutes and she kept telling me they were having a nice girls' night. Then I heard a male voice in the background. I questioned who it was, and she initially denied hearing anything. But when it happened again, louder this time, she said, oh yeah, X brought a number of males with her. Everyone here is quite upset about it. She was inebriated and 3 hours away. I had no choice but to trust her again. We argued over why she hadn't told me there were men around, and she pledged never to put herself in such a scenario again. Clearly, that pledge did not stay. After remembering all of these experiences and the conversations we had about them, I felt prepared to give it one more attempt. I turned my phone back on, and it nearly instantly rang. I responded, and she screamed for me to come home. I drove back to the house. When I stepped in, I found her sitting on the couch, crying her eyes out and constantly sobbing, I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry. Sorry for what? I inquired. She began to sway back and forth, as if she were losing control. It took her almost 5 minutes to regain her breath and speak. Her response. I lied about the guy who tried to kiss me. Me. Okay. Tell me what occurred. Her. The 4 of us actually returned to his apartment that night. We played around. Hearing her say it made me dizzy, as if the room was closing in and a million voices were screaming in my mind. I guess I was experiencing a panic attack. I went to the restroom, splashed cold water on my face and waited till I felt better. My response? What did you do? She asked. Do you really want me to tell you? Me, yes. Her response. He fingered me, and I gave him a blowjob. My response. Was that it? She says, yes. I said, I'm not playing this game anymore. Either tell me everything now, or this will be our final conversation. She began crying again and needed a few minutes before she could speak. Her. We got together again and had sex. I'm so sorry. I adore you and will do anything to make up for this. This is me. Just the one time. Her. If I'm telling you the truth, please give me the opportunity to make amends. Please. My response. I'll think about it. Her. There was an affair. We've been hooking up while you were away for work. It's been going on for about a month. He is married and they are about to divorce. My response. Does he know you're married? She says, yes. Me. If he's having an affair because his marriage is failing, does that imply you believe ours is failing? Was that what you told him? Her. No, I do not believe ours is failing. I am so stupid. I despise myself. Please do not abandon me. I can fix it. Me. How? She answered. Whatever you want. My answer was, if you were in my shoes, or even in his wife's shoes, what would fix this for you? Her. I know the truth. Being able to trust that you mean what you say. You can trust me. I messed up and will not do this again. Me. If you were his wife, wouldn't you want to know the truth? She says, yes. I said, then fix this. She responded. You want me to call her? You replied. If you think that's what you would want. She attempted to phone his wife, but there was no answer. Several minutes later, her phone rang. It was labeled Karen work, but she appeared surprised, so I knew it wasn't Karen. My response. Is that him? She says, yes. I answered the telephone. The coward instantly exclaimed, oops, I must have the wrong number. Me. No, this is the husband of the woman you have been cheating on. I'll let you talk to her, she has something to say. I passed the phone to her. I told him everything. He knows the whole truth. We're finished. It was simply a fling and you should not approach me again. Before she hung up, I requested to see the phone. My response. What divorce lawyer are you using? His response. I'm not getting divorced. Me. Oh, but you didn't inform my wife you were. He says, no. Me? Okay then. Can I speak to your wife? I believe she has the same right to know about this as I do. He says, please man. I didn't realize she was married. Don't ruin my marriage because of a mistake. Me? You ruined mine because of a mistake. It is only right that I inform your wife. He says, please don't. She is at work right now. I'll tell her everything once she gets home. I swear, this is me. Okay, you do that. I hung up. Then I asked my wife if she knew where his wife worked and her name. She did. I told her to phone over and ask for his wife at her office. His wife answered and informed my wife that she was going to leave for the day but would call back from her car. A few minutes later, she did. His wife asked, what's going on? My wife said, I have something dreadful to tell you. I don't want to cause any accidents, therefore please do not drive. His wife said, oh my God. What happened to his name? My wife said, no. He's currently at your flat. I just wanted to let you know that we have been having an affair for a month. I am coming honestly to my husband, and I believed you deserve the same respect. His wife was silent for a moment before stating, if this is some sick joke, I will find out who you are. Then she hung up. Not even 10 minutes later, my wife received a text from Karen work that read, thanks. You just ruined my life. I seized the phone and said, you have just ruined 4 lives and 2 marriages. Don't forget, this was your fault. For the next hour, my wife pleaded with me to stay. She offered counseling, pledged never to leave my side, and even offered sexual favors, which was precisely what I expected based on the complaints I'd read online. Then she suggested we take a trip, stating, my treat. We need time away to reconnect. She stated we needed quality time together because my work schedule was keeping us apart. Again, she said precisely what I expected. What she didn't expect was when I informed her I'd already scheduled counseling, for myself. She also didn't anticipate me to reveal that I had discovered her in our bed with someone else. And she didn't expect me to reply. I already have a place to stay. When I told her everything, she slumped on the floor and sobbed. She kept insisting that she didn't deserve to live and begged me to kill her since she was too horrible to be with anyone. This continued for a time. I waited for 4 hours, listening to her make excuses and attempting to embrace, cuddle, or charm me into staying and resolving things. In the end, I called Karen and told her that her suicidal friend needed someone to look after her. Then I left. It's been almost a day since that happened, and I haven't spoken to her since. She has been phoning and messaging me all day. Her friends and family have also reached out, each with a unique excuse or cry for empathy. The one message that genuinely stuck out came from her father. He wrote, do what is best for you. I will always love you like a son, no matter what. Reading that was the first time I had a decent cry since it all began. Tomorrow, I'll visit with Sharon, my counselor, and on Thursday, I'll see a lawyer. I believe I know where this is going, but I'm not certain until it happens. I apologize for the lengthy story, but it helps to rant like this. Once again, I sincerely appreciate all of your comments and letters. People sharing their own tales have made me feel less shattered and provided much needed hope. Thank you, everyone. My parents gave me up for adoption because I was a boy. Now they've contacted me, requesting money to support my sister's education. I am a 25-year-old male. My narrative began when I was 6 years old, or rather, from the moment I was born. I am my parents' third and youngest kid. We weren't rich, but my parents made enough money to support 3 children. We resided in a tiny town in an ancestral home, which helped us conserve money. My grandparents owned a farm, which supplied a substantial percentage of our food. Dad worked as a truck driver and returned home every 3 to 4 days, while Mom was a waitress. Before I was born, my parents had 2 daughters. You can imagine how I felt as the unplanned child. Of course, as a child, I had no idea what was going on, but as I grew older, I started to figure it out. Learning that I was unwanted was a difficult lesson. My parents wanted to get rid of me, but the doctor cautioned them against it owing to potential health dangers to my mother. My mother was really interested in having a daughter. Her explanation was simple. She wanted me to avoid buying new clothes by reusing my sisters'. My two sisters were close in age, so they could readily share clothing. They actually enjoyed it. However, when I was born a boy, my parents were extremely disappointed. They despised me for it. They dressed me in my sister's old clothes and even sent me to school wearing their abandoned uniforms. It was quite embarrassing. Although I was very young, I have vague memories of being teased for wearing a girl's uniform and having long hair. Any concerns I made were answered with a violent thrashing from my mother. I grew up in an environment filled with abuse and harsh words, much of which I didn't understand at the time. As I grew older and realized what they meant, I came to despise my parents. My father was marginally better than my mother, but because he was away most of the time, his treatment of me varied. Some days, he appeared impartial toward all three of us, but on others, he was as harsh, if not crueler, than my mother. I won't say I was a perfect child. As I grew older and became more aware of their fondness for my sisters, I began to rebel. They always got the finest of everything, while I only got leftovers. In response, I began to behave out because I blamed them for my troubles. I was frequently grounded, sometimes harshly. There were several times when I had to prepare my own breakfast and was without dinner. Consider the pain of a 6-year-old going through that. One particular episode stands out in my recollection, and I believe it constituted a watershed moment in my life. I had been brutally bullied on the playground for masquerading as a girl. When I returned home, I learned that my mother had purchased new clothes for my sisters for the holidays. In a flash of wrath, I took a pair of scissors and turned their new garments into confetti. I know what I did was wrong, and I'm not proud of it, but my actions sprung from grief, not malice. Instead of attempting to comprehend my anguish, my parents considered my actions as an unforgivable sin that demanded the worst punishment. They decided to place me up for adoption. They waited for a month and no one wanted to adopt me. This rejection inflamed their rage even further. I was continually reminded of how useless I was, and how no one wanted me. Some of the harshest comments I heard came from my mother, who said, "I wish I had done a gender check. I would never have brought him into the world." It haunts me that my parents despise me so much for reasons beyond my control. After some time, when there was no response to my adoption, my parents began discussing it with their friends and family. Dad knew someone in the next town who had a food truck with his wife. They were poorer than us yet desired a child. They were in their late 30s and had been trying for over a decade without luck. Dad spoke with them, and they easily consented to adopt me. I recall Dad breaking the news to Mom and my sisters, and they were overjoyed to be rid of me. Dad also cautioned them that the couple was impoverished, and I might not be able to attend school. Mom shrugged her eyes and replied, "Who cares? Just drop him off tomorrow." I stood in the corner, holding the curtain. Even though I despised my family, the prospect of abandoning them terrified and pained me. My eyes welled up with tears, but I refrained from crying aloud. They were so delighted, reveling in the moment, that they didn't know I was present. When Dad realized I was crying, he walked over, massaged my back and said, "Pack your belongings, we'll leave tomorrow morning for your new family." That was the moment I couldn't hold back. I cried out, but it went unheard. I went back to my room, packed my belongings, and prayed that my new family would be less evil. The following day, Dad drove me to the next town. I don't remember how I felt during the drive. I wasn't crying, perhaps I was simply numb. My new family's home was small, with only one room, and they had transformed the warehouse into my bedroom. I had no complaints. At least they had made an effort to provide me with my own area, which I had never had before. At my previous home, I slept on a cot in the corner of my sister's room, with only a little closet for my possessions. Even though the new room was smaller, it was comfortable. My new parents, Mary and John, were warm and kind, but I came from a dysfunctional home and had never known love. My parents had shown affection to my sisters, but never to me. I questioned Mary and John's intentions and felt their kindness was fleeting. I tried not to become attached to them for fear that they would forsake me as well. You know, childhood trauma. It took me several months to discover that their love was genuine and not an act. Yes, my schoolwork was disrupted that year since my parents relocated me midterm, but Mary and John agreed to enroll me the following year. When I witnessed how hard they worked to save for my education, I fell in love with them. My adoption proved to be a blessing in disguise. My biological parents never returned after leaving me with Mary and John. Honestly, I was relieved. Here I was treated like a boy, with no shame or criticism. Mary and John worked extremely hard, operating their food truck for 14 to 16 hours per day. Their truck was parked right outside their apartment, so I was never alone. I could see them from my bedroom window, and I ultimately began spending my days at the truck, assisting where I could. When I eventually started school, I concentrated on my studies while also assisting with chores whenever I had free time. When I was a little over 10 years old, I was assisting John at the cash register, and I turned out to be fairly brilliant at math. I learned about business and accounting at a young age. After high school, I wanted to run their food truck full-time, but Mary and John demanded that I finish college first. Despite their advancing age and frailty, they used their savings to pay for my schooling. I wanted to take over the company to reciprocate their generosity, but they convinced me that they could make it for a few more years and encouraged me to complete my college education. I enrolled in college to study business and accounting, hoping to make them proud. After a while, when there was no response to my adoption, they began discussing it with their friends and relatives. Dad knew someone in the next town who had a food van with his wife. They were poorer than us yet desired a child. They were in their late 30s and had been trying for a child for almost a decade, but there had been no success. Dad spoke with them and they easily consented to adopt me. I remember Dad breaking the news to Mom and my sisters. They were overjoyed to get free of me. Dad also explained that they were poor and that I might never be able to attend school. Mom shrugged her eyes and replied, "Who cares? Just drop him off tomorrow." I stood paralyzed in the corner, clutching the curtain. Regardless of how much I despised my family, I was terrified and hurt to leave them. I had tears in my eyes but did not cry out. They were so thrilled and enjoying the occasion, they forgot I was there. When Dad saw me in tears, he walked forward, patted my back, and told me to pack my belongings. "We'll leave tomorrow morning to join your new family." When he said this, I cried out loudly, but I realized it was not heard. So I went to my room, packed my belongings, and prayed that my new family was less evil. The following day Dad drove me to the next town. I don't remember exactly what emotions I was experiencing, but I wasn't crying. Perhaps I was simply numb as I left the house and throughout the drive. My new family was definitely poor. They lived in a little house with only one room. They'd converted the warehouse into my room. I had no problems because they at least tried to offer me a room. I've never had my own room or bed. My sisters had a bed and I was put up on a cot in the corner of their room, with my stuff stored in a small closet. This room was smaller than ours, yet it was comfortable. My new parents, Mary and John, were loving and caring, but I came from a troubled home. I had never felt that love before. Yes, I witnessed my parents' affection for my sisters, but never for me. I used to question my new parents' intentions and assumed their love was only transitory. I tried not to become attached to them for fear of being abandoned as well. You are aware of childhood trauma. It took me several months to discover that they truly loved me and were not putting on a front. Yes, my school was discontinued that year since my parents relocated me in the middle of the school year, but my new parents promised to enroll me the next year. I saw how they went above and above to save money so that I could attend school. That's when I started to love them back. My adoption proved to be a blessing in disguise. My original parents never showed up after sending me to Mary and John. To be honest, I was relieved because I was treated as if I were still a boy. Mary and John were extremely hard-working people. They worked 14 to 16 hours a day on their food truck. The vehicle was located right outside of their apartment, so I was not left alone when they were working. I could see them directly through my bedroom window. Eventually, I began spending my days on the truck, assisting them with everything I could. When I was admitted to the school, I dedicated all of my time to my studies while also assisting them with chores when I had time. I was a little older than 10 when I assisted John at the cash desk. I was pretty adept at calculating. I learned business and accounting from a young age. After high school, I wanted to run their business full-time, but they both insisted that I finish college first. They used their funds to fund it. They were becoming too old and frail to operate a food truck. I wanted to assume their responsibilities the same way they took mine, but they told me that they could handle it for a few more years and that I should go to college. I studied business and accounting in college because I aspired to be an entrepreneur. My graduation day was the best day of my life. John and Mary were over the moon. They even asked my biological parents to attend the convocation, but they did not show up. After college, I hoped to manage the food van while Mary and John retired, but they had other ideas for me. They had acquired substantial savings and turned them up to me. This act overwhelmed me. John stated they could survive on their own for a few more years, but he didn't want to involve me in their business. He provided me with the money to start my own business. I didn't want to waste their hard-earned money, so I used my business skills wisely. I looked for a tiny local restaurant in a good neighborhood that was struggling with sales. After several rejections, I ultimately persuaded the owner to lease the property to me on a profit-sharing basis. I started from scratch, refurbishing the facility and creating a menu tailored to the likes of millennials and Generation Z. I focused on providing the greatest service to my consumers. Sales increased dramatically within a year and I doubled my initial investment. 4 years later, I own 3 cafes in town, all of which are successful. I moved Mary and John into a better apartment and obtained a little room for myself, as I'd been living with them up until then. I asked them to retire and get rid of their food truck, but they insisted on keeping it for their own satisfaction. When I left their house with my bag all those years ago, I had no idea I would one day graduate from college. But here I am running a restaurant chain in town. Fast forward to last month, it was a regular day at work. I was working at the cash register of one of my eateries when I noticed a familiar face. It seemed like I'd seen a ghost. It was my biological father. I saw him after almost 2 decades. He appeared pale and sickly. He stepped across the counter with a big smile and hugged me. I didn't say anything because the restaurant was crowded, and instead escorted him to a corner. Seeing his face brought back all the traumatic memories from my youth. I couldn't have written about my past in such depth if he hadn't reappeared in my life. He expressed his pride in my accomplishment and happiness. I stood there, stunned, unable to answer. He stated that he had been traveling by and saw John, who informed him of my success. He stated that he will bring my mother to meet me over the weekend. I remained silent and he left shortly after. That evening, I told John that I did not want to meet my biological parents, who abandoned me because I was a boy. John and Mary were aware of my rough childhood. I wanted to flee and hide for the weekend, but Mary persuaded me to forgive them and go forward. I finally agreed to meet them on the condition that John and Mary accompany me. My original parents came to John's house, and I expected them to apologize for what they did to me. But to my surprise, they showed no sorrow. Instead, they detailed the favors they had performed for me. My mother told me that I should be grateful to them for finding me wonderful parents like John and Mary, who raised me to be successful. I was stunned. I wanted to lash out at them, but Mary took my hand and told me to remain calm. I politely replied, "I am grateful to have John and Mary as parents." The entire encounter seemed awkward and uncomfortable for me. The next day, I got a call from my biological mother. I didn't recognize her voice. It was the first time she'd contacted me in 20 years. She was not phoning to reconcile. She asked for money. She stated that my father had lost his regular job and had been working on a contract basis for several years. She also lost her job since no restaurant wanted to hire a 50-year-old waitress. They were hurting financially. I inquired how much she needed. She replied $20,000 would be sufficient. She had borrowed the money from her friends over the previous 3 months to buy groceries and run the property. Her pals now wanted the money back, but she didn't have it. I hung up the phone, stating I'd think about it and get back. The truth is, no matter how much I despise them, I feel horrible that people are pursuing them for money. Sometimes I think she's simply taking advantage of me, but what if they really need help? I'd feel horrible letting them go through embarrassment, especially considering I have the money. Update 1. Thank you for all of your remarks and congratulations. People have different feelings about helping my mother with $20,000. I discussed it with Mary and John. Mary was pleased that I was considering assisting my parents, but she also advised me to be cautious. John stated that it was my money, thus the decision was mine, but he shared the same concern. What if they were attempting to manipulate my emotions? After much deliberation, I chose to seize my first and only shot with my biological parents. I transferred the money to her account. It felt nice at first to aid my family, despite the fact that they had mistreated me. But, as I suspected, they began to exploit me financially, so I quickly recognized I had been correct in my caution. My mother called me back a week after I had sent the money. I responded with conflicting sentiments. She thanked me for my assistance and then stated, "Your sisters want to see you. When do you think you can make it?" For a time, I believed they truly wanted me back in their life. Regardless of all my parents did to me, I never despised my sisters. As a child, I may have been nasty to them, but I never blamed them for what happened. It was not their fault. I often wondered if my parents abandoned me because they were poor, not because they were nasty. I informed Mom that we could meet on Sunday and I would drive home. But she interjected and said, "Why don't we meet somewhere outside?" I didn't think much of it at the moment but agreed. She agreed to text me the place and time. However, after the call, I felt nervous. Why didn't they want me to come to their home? Yes, it doesn't matter where we meet, but after so many years, wouldn't you rather meet your family at home than in a restaurant? Later, she emailed me information on an expensive restaurant. I didn't think about it at the time since I was still upset that they hadn't asked me home. When I got to the restaurant, they were already present. My sisters ran to hug me, and for a minute, I was overjoyed to see them after so many years. We were having fun catching up until the menu arrived. They began ordering the most expensive dishes on the menu. When they inquired what he wanted, my father smiled and replied, "Order the most costly one. My son is a big man now." That was a very petty thing to say. If John or Mary had said that, I would have been proud. But hearing it from my biological parents felt cruel and manipulative. There was little I could do. I sat there, watching them enjoy themselves, knowing full well that they were draining my money. Yes, I did pay the bill too. I had wild thoughts about ghosting them before the bill arrived, but that would have been too cruel. Right there and there I told myself I would never fall into their emotional trap again. I stayed cold for the remainder of the evening, and I doubt anyone noticed. When we were leaving, they did not invite me home. Instead, my older sister inquired, "So where are we dining next?" I feigned a smile and responded, "Nowhere," before waving them goodbye. When I returned, I told Mary about my greedy relatives. She was shocked. Mary, a gentle and independent woman, found their behavior troubling. She encouraged me not to act foolishly again and to concentrate on my life rather than worrying about others. I took her advice to heart. A week later, my sisters called, but I did not answer. My mother called, but I also ignored her. It has been 2 months since then, and they have stopped contacting me. I believe they finally received the message that I do not want them in my life. Update 2. Hello everyone, thank you for all the love. As I indicated in my last essay, I stopped responding to my sisters and biological parents after realizing they only wanted me for my money. My mother called me again recently, after nearly 5 months. I noticed the phone ring and answered it on impulse. She began with a small conversation, asking about me and my career, but it sounded artificial and pretentious. I couldn't stand it any longer and inquired, "What do you want?" She took a big breath and explained, "Your sisters had to drop out of college. Because Dad couldn't afford their tuition, they asked me to sponsor their college education." I flipped out. My mother urged me to calm down, saying, "They are your sisters, your family, and you should help them." I was at work at the time and did not want to disrupt my day, so I hung up. She called me back that evening. I had ignored her calls a few times, but it bothered me. I recognized that ignoring her was not the solution. When she called again, I answered. She responded, "Your sisters are really pleased to return to their college, so how are we going to handle this? Will you pay all at once or by semester? I advise you to transfer the entire sum to me, and I will handle the tuition payments each semester. That way, you won't have to worry about anything." I was stunned. I replied, "Whoa, hold on. I am not going to make any payments." She sounded genuinely astonished, as if she had not expected no to be an option. She asked, "What do you mean you won't pay everything at once?" "It's great, we can also pay in installments." I reiterated, "I'm not paying anyway. My sister's schooling is not my obligation, especially since my parents abandoned me and never followed up with me. Now you're only talking to me because you want to take my money." She erupted with rage and lost control. "Do not forget that we gave birth to you. We are responsible for your current state. Your father secured a suitable guardian for you, and now that it is time to repay us, you must accept your obligations. Your sisters and parents are your responsibility, and you must take care of them all." I had a lot to say, but I knew it would be lost on deaf, egocentric ears. So I calmly responded, "Yes, I owe a lot to my parents, John and Mary. They deserve all credit for my success. As for you, I am not sure who you are. None of my documents bear your names, nor do I have any images of you. So I do not think I know you at all." She began throwing insults at me, but I simply said, "Wrong number, lady," and disconnected up. Call me selfish, harsh, or whatever you want, but I am not going to spend my hard-earned money on my so-called family. They were never my family. They abandoned me when I was only 6 years old. And yes, I did see some comments on my last post on why I call John and Mary by their names rather than Mom and Dad. Actually, I call them Mom and Dad now. It didn't happen right away when I moved home with them, but as time went and they worked hard to provide for me, love me, and get me into school, I grew devoted to them. For the sake of clarity in this narrative, I referred to them as John and Mary. But to me, they are my true mother and father. I don't call my biological parents anything because they don't exist to me. Aunt attacks me over fake disability. I recorded and posted the assault, now she lost everything, and her husband wants a divorce. I, 31F, was born with a severe genetic disease known as EDS, hypermobility type. This sickness varies significantly from person to person, with the majority living quite normal lives despite some discomfort and problems. EDS is essentially a series of illnesses caused by faulty collagen in the body, which causes a variety of symptoms, including joint hypermobility, which occurs when joints become so loose and unstable that they frequently dislocated or subluxated, partially dislocate. It also causes severe joint and soft tissue pain, chronic weariness, easy bruising, and dizziness due to sudden decreases in blood pressure while standing. About 11 years ago, my condition deteriorated substantially, and I had to begin using a wheelchair because walking more than 100 feet became unsafe owing to the risk of hip dislocation. In the last 3 years, I converted to an electric wheelchair because pushing a manual one was too difficult. For reasons I don't entirely understand, my aunt, 54F, has a strong disdain for disabled individuals, particularly those in wheelchairs who still have some leg mobility. For the last 11 years, whenever we were alone, she treated me like a dog. She argued that my condition was fabricated, stating that I made it up to divert attention and because I was envious of anyone else receiving attention, particularly her. I tried confronting her, but dealing with my sickness was already stressful. I kept her opinions to myself because I'm not aggressive and don't see her very often. I didn't want to burden anyone, especially since I was already asking so much from those around me. My parents were fatigued from all of the doctor appointments, so I overlooked my aunt's conduct. I had become accustomed to her rudeness and no longer cared about her opinions, until last week, when everything intensified. I went to see my aunt for our annual family dinner, which she had organized. Everything was going fine until she drank more than normal and became sarcastic at me in front of the family. Some family members confronted her, stating that her behavior was disrespectful and uncalled for. Throughout the evening, she silently fumed and stared at me. My parents noticed and kept a watch on her, but I chose to take a break from her stares by going into the kitchen on the other side of the house to take my prescription privately. My aunt followed me into the kitchen, closing the door behind her. I realized right once this wasn't good. She was obviously inebriated. I discreetly began recording the interaction on my phone. Even if I screamed, nobody would hear me because the door was closed and everyone else was talking loudly in the other room. She began by asking if I liked being an attention hog and ruining her supper by humiliating her. I carefully tried to propel my wheelchair toward the entrance while apologizing and explaining that this was not my goal. I tried to say what she wanted to hear, hoping to make it to safety. She began raising her voice, accusing me of being envious of her success and fabricating my problem out of laziness. She started calling me every name in the book and screamed rubbish at me. I began to cry, pleading with her to let me go as I suspected she was experiencing a mental breakdown. I realized I needed to leave, but I couldn't do it in my wheelchair, so I tried to get out of it. Unfortunately, she became furious and pushed me back into the chair forcefully. She screamed that she was not finished yet and that liars like me deserved to be given a lesson. She began punching me in the face as hard as she could, dislocating my jaw. Then she tried to drag me out of the chair, dislocating my arm, but I fought back, and she was unsuccessful. She managed to roll my wheelchair over onto its side, causing my foot to become jammed under the footrests. Fortunately, my father noticed my disappearance, as did my aunt, and became concerned. He began looking for me. Later, he informed me that I let out a blood-curdling scream that could be heard across the dining room, forcing him and my mother to race toward the sound. By this point, I was beginning to lose consciousness due to discomfort. I recall my father rushing through the door. According to what I was told, he body-slammed and punched my aunt, his younger sister, to keep her down. My mother yelled for someone to phone 911, and my nephew did it instantly. My mother then untied me from the wheelchair and attempted to recall her first aid training. Meanwhile, my father forced my aunt to the floor, leaving her husband in full amazement and unsure what to do. When the police and paramedics arrived, they handcuffed my aunt. She screamed at my father, wondering how he dared to touch a woman, particularly his sister. My uncle attempted to defend my aunt, claiming they had no idea what had happened and suggesting that I had tipped over while attempting to attack her. He stated that his wife would never do such a thing unless provoked. He supposedly said even worse things, but my parents won't tell me what. I regained consciousness at this time, most likely as a result of the severe pain medication, but everything was still blurry because the medicine had left me disoriented. I was carried away in an ambulance, while my aunt was sent to jail. At the hospital, they discovered that I had several shattered ribs, a dislocated arm, and a dislocated jaw. The punches also resulted in a concussion, But the most serious injury was to my foot, which snapped. I had cuts and scratches all over my body since my skin is so thin. Fortunately, none of the injuries required surgery, but due to my disease, I'll be in a cast for at least 10 weeks, followed by physical therapy. My ankle will probably be irreparably ruined. I feel guilty about ruining her life. I've received several voicemails from various numbers, all with her yelling about how I ruined her life and most likely their finances. My uncle is attempting to salvage his name by sticking by her side, but this appears to be a temporary measure, since he now wishes to divorce her. A few family members are making me doubt whether I did the right thing, therefore I'm wondering if I'm in the wrong here. Yes, we are getting a restraining order and filing charges. The prospect of her pursuing me again is too much to take. Some folks have also puzzled how I received pain medication while unconscious. As I previously stated, I believe I recovered consciousness as a result of the pain medication, although I don't recall much owing to the discomfort. I'll ask my folks for more information as soon as I can. They're reluctant to discuss how they found me or what happened because they'd rather bury those memories than have them haunt me. The video of the attack was turned over to the authorities and has been backed up on numerous platforms. I'm also considering suing because my insurance covers legal fees. TLDR, my aunt admitted me to the hospital and badly wounded me because she suspected I was faking my genetic illness for attention. I recorded the entire attack and shared it online when they said I was lying and attacked her. Everyone in the family has cut all ties with her, including her church. Her husband wants a divorce. So am I the moron that posted the footage and ruined her life? I agreed to open our relationship because my girlfriend wanted it, but it wrecked her life. My boyfriend, 24F, and I, 27M, chose to have an open relationship after 5 years of monogamy. We had dated in high school, but when I left for college, we broke up because I suspected she no longer liked me. Years later, Mom told me that she understood I needed to stretch my wings and enjoy my life while at college. While I was away at college, her mother became extremely severe after discovering she had a boyfriend and had lost her virginity. She wasn't permitted to hang out with friends or go anywhere, and because she was financially reliant on her mother, she stayed under her mother's control even when she started college. Meanwhile, I was out dating, having fun and trying to enjoy life, but I still missed her, even if she was at home. When we first met and began dating again, she informed me about her mother's treatment and I told her about my college experiences. We moved in together in 2016 and have been living there ever since. Over the past year, she has expressed a desire to try new activities. I felt jealous at first, but then I understood. The first time we pondered beginning our relationship, the guy she was interested in turned out to be rather trash, so she opted against it. She recently made a new acquaintance at work and told me she wanted to spend time with him. They've been talking all the time, but they haven't had any sex yet. Meanwhile, I've been using dating apps, interacting with individuals, and attempting to form connections. However, I'm understanding more and more that I don't care about anyone else and only want to be with her. It's painful while I'm at work, and we don't see each other often during the week. Then, on weekends when I'm not working, she hangs around with him. I feel as if I've taken a back seat to this entire event, and I can't help but feel lonely and alone. Every time I tell her I'm uncomfortable, she wants to cancel everything and end our relationship. She has stated that she is aware that this is an itch that must be scratched, and that if she does not, she will be left wondering about it forever. I suppose all I need is someone to communicate my emotions to and help me work through how I feel. I have an appointment with a therapist, which should help a lot. We began our relationship on July 7, 2022, after 5 years of monogamy because she wanted to expand her sexual experiences after growing up in an incredibly conservative environment. There were setbacks since I'm highly monogamous and had difficulty meeting mates, but she was able to secure dates and encounters almost immediately. Things improved after I went to therapy and discovered healthy ways to communicate my emotions. Our connection remained strong, but it improved much more as I began sharing my emotions more efficiently. I ultimately met someone who was both a great friend and a fantastic sexual partner. Unlike my partner, I discovered that I couldn't have intimacy with strangers unless I had a link, and I didn't want any more sexual encounters because I grew up with a lot more freedom. My girlfriend, on the other hand, began to get jealous of my relationship with this new companion. She began interfering with our time together, contacting me frequently when I was with this person or initiating sex with me just as I was ready to leave. This behavior began to indicate a pattern for me. Before this year, my girlfriend was extremely responsible. She handled money well, even when we didn't have much. She worked a steady job with regular hours and had started college the previous fall to advance her career. However, prior to us starting our relationship, she began to regress. It began with her spending her whole income on tattoos and piercings, which I didn't mind because I enjoy external self-expression. But then she started antagonizing her bosses, arriving hours late or quitting work early without notice. This semester, her grades fell, and she gradually stopped attending class, until she had no idea when midterms or spring break were. She had no idea finals were over and the semester had ended. My girlfriend took a 2-month leave of absence from her job, stating it was for her mental health, about a month or two after I began to feel closer to my new partner. When I proposed therapy, she declined. She limited her encounters to one constant guy and began spending days with him at a time. This would have been a greater red sign if I hadn't begun working 12-hour swing shifts this year. She told me she hated being at home alone, and since I was gone so much, it made sense for her to find somewhere else to be while I was at work. Despite the fact that she does not own a car or a driver's license, she has begun to use meal delivery services. This made no sense, especially since I buy groceries and keep the house supplied with food. She was wasting my money because she was not working. It started to feel like she'd lost her sense of maturity. When I brought up money problems or the fact that she wasn't doing anything at home while I was at work, she became frustrated. She'd spend the entire day lying in bed, ordering food. Whenever I tried to have good conversations about my feelings in the relationship, she would shut off. She'd reply she hadn't noticed any changes and that I might be making things up in my head. Eventually, she quit her work without having anything else planned. This drove me to distance myself from her, both physically and emotionally, because I thought my relationship requirements were not being addressed. She noticed right away, presuming I was no longer attracted to her. She grew irritated because I stopped initiating intimacy and the quality of our relationship had worsened. I attempted to make things right by sharing my emotions and explaining why it was difficult for me to want intimacy from her. However, she insisted that I was simply calling her a problem. We no longer have closeness, let alone cuddling. We still talk a lot, but much of it revolves around her sexual partner. I barely see her anymore, and whenever I try to initiate intimacy, she always has an excuse. She's sleepy, on her period, or anything. When she attempts to initiate sex, it is usually at the most embarrassing or inconvenient times. All of the closeness has vanished, and we haven't had sex in about 2 months. I want to talk to her about it, but every time I bring it up, she gets irritated and threatens to end the relationship or claims I'm never satisfied. She continually tells me that I am the man she wants to marry and that she cannot imagine herself with anyone else, which complicates the matter even more. My working belief is that what I need in my life is maturity, and the partner I found exemplifies that: responsible, fun, and balanced. On the other hand, my girlfriend appears to be looking for mindless entertainment and availability, and her present boyfriend reflects this. He has no personal commitments, rarely works, and is always available. Whatever happens, I do not want to leave my girlfriend. I know who she was and who I fell in love with, but I'm not sure whether I care about who she is today. We've discussed the possibility of couples therapy once we've gotten our finances under control, but she doesn't seem interested. I really don't know what to do at this point. Update 1. The same day I wrote this, she received a call from her mother, the biggest enemy in her childhood. They've had surface-level contact since she left home, but her mother informed her that her brother was experiencing psychotic episodes as a result of years of seclusion. Her mother also acknowledged that she had realized how terribly she had raised her children and apologized to my girlfriend. This appeared to trigger something in her, and she let out a lot of resentment. She informed her mother that she was going to begin therapy because she recognized she was becoming like her and did not want to hurt others the way she had been abused as a child. I'm not sure how serious she meant it, because she was pretty emotional at the moment. However, while on break from her current job, which she started last week, she began looking for a second one. She stated that having too much free time this year had a detrimental impact on her, and she wanted to try to achieve emotional and financial stability. This is all great progress, but several people in the comments made valid points. Ultimately, I need to figure out what I truly desire. I understand that jumping from one relationship to another will not serve myself or anyone else in the long run. I've also realized that I deserve to establish limits and have a say in my own life, but I recognize that partnerships involve work, and that work must be shared. I need to do some serious thinking, and I'll provide an update if anything changes. Update 2. It's been a few months, so I thought I'd provide an update. About a week after the initial post, I recognized that things were not improving. I discussed it with some friends and they all agreed it was time to break up. I knew it was ultimately my decision, but after reading all of the comments, I realized I needed to take charge of how I wanted to live my life. I broke up with her and stated why. I highlighted the things I wasn't happy with and the adjustments I'd like to see if we ever decided to get back together. She sobbed, and we spoke on the phone because we were never both home at the same time. She appeared to understand my reasoning and stated she would work on herself. As our lease expired, my roommate and I searched for a new place to live. She had expected she would move in with me, which I briefly pondered. However, I decided against it, especially when she went on a rant about how she wanted to destroy my friends after discovering they had encouraged me to quit my relationship with her. Finally, I informed her she couldn't come with me. She ended up moving in with the person she had been seeing, but she remained in touch with me. She never really tried to improve herself. Instead, she would constantly moan about how bad her new boyfriend was, drawing parallels to our previous relationship. She eventually recognized that how he treated her was harsh and toxic. I pointed out the parallels between her connection with him and the way she treated me. She made a half-hearted apology, but it didn't feel genuine. I returned to treatment and have been doing well ever since. My finances are more steady than they have been in years, and I am now dating the woman I was seeing previously. This is the easiest relationship I've ever had. Our communication methods are consistent and we communicate affection in the same way. It was surprising at first since I had become accustomed to turbulence and dysfunction in past relationships, but dating her felt like finally having someone on my side, someone dependable and steady. It took time to break my codependent tendencies and learn that I'm entitled to my own space and freedom. With her encouragement, I resumed my interests and began going back to the gym. Reflecting on the prior 6 years, I realize how much I tolerated and sacrificed for my ex, which prompted me to lash out in fury. My therapist helped me realize that channeling my anger in that way wasn't good. So I've been working on being more productive and creative. Life now feels much more balanced and fulfilling. My wife and the mother of our 3 kids is cheating on me and she thinks I don't know. What should I do now? Original post. I don't even know how to start all of this. I feel like I will faint. I have been married to my wife for 9 years, together 11. We are both from Europe, but not from the same country and currently live in Asia. We have lived in Asia for the last 10 years but in this country we are living for the last 8. We have 3 kids, M8, M6, F3. My wife has not worked since our first son was born. I have permanent residence in the country where we live and she and my kids are allowed by the law to stay with me even though they are not citizens and she is not working. Marriage is in my eyes pretty good. We had some fights in these 9 years but nothing special. I work 5 days per week from 8 a.m. till 4 p.m. She never told me she feels lonely, or not loved or bored. She has her routine. Oldest son goes to school, my younger son goes to preschool and my daughter goes to kindergarten. She drives them every day to school and picks them after. Makes lunch and waits for me. We would go on vacations, trips, holidays. Dates every weekend. I have never ever thought she is doing something behind my back. We also have an open phone policy but I don't remember when I checked her phone before all of this. I don't think I've used it 5 times in my life. This Wednesday I came to our house and parked the car outside. I don't think she heard me. But I heard her talking with someone about how she misses that person and can't wait to see it this week. I don't know if she heard me or saw my car but literally 5 seconds after she said that she hung up the call. I asked her who that was and she said it's one of her friends who is currently on the trip. To be fair, I didn't suspect it was AP. I know, I am an idiot, but I couldn't imagine that. Also, that friend was really on the trip which I know. But the things were off. She was trying that day too much. She was always nice and was in a good mood but that day everything was a little bit too much. I had a really weird feeling but I said I will wait until the next day and I'm probably making things up in my head. I came to work on Thursday and was just asking myself, am I paranoid or what? It bothered me why she ended the call immediately when I was in the house if that was her friend. During the day I called her and asked where she was. She said she was in the house but I heard noises around her. I seriously thought she was cheating on me. I left work and jumped in the car and went to my house. It's about a 30-minute drive. When I came she was not there. I called her again and wanted to ask her again where she was but didn't want to look suspicious so I asked her if she could look at some things in the house. And while she was on the call she was saying she is checking those things. I knew then that she was cheating. I came home and she was lovely as always. Wanted to go out with me and the kids later. I seriously don't know how I remained calm then and how I didn't kick her out immediately. And I pretended the rest of the day that I was just tired. Yesterday I told everything to my best friend. He was furious when I was waiting and that I should confront her right away. But I didn't have any evidence. I said I will look at her phone and laptop when she goes to sleep. When I came home she was behaving well. We even had sex. I think if I stay under the shower for 10 months it will not be enough. I wasn't in the mood and she asked me if everything was okay and I said it's just too much stress at work. She hugged me and went to sleep saying everything is okay. During the night I checked her phone. I don't know if she was that stupid or so sure I won't see messages, but she didn't delete anything. They were hidden, but not deleted. I had about 30-40 minutes to look because she woke up. AP is some kid. I mean, technically not a kid, but he is younger than me. I would say 23, 27. I checked his IG and he is apparently some fuckboy. He follows 80% girls. Tattoos, jewelry, muscles, and he is white. So he is not a local guy. To be honest, he is attractive. I can't lie, attractive enough for her to ruin marriage and family. By his name I would say he is from Europe also, but I'm not sure. He seems to have a lot of cash. I don't know if he is some daddy's boy or what, but I can see he has 2 supercars, travels the world and posts pictures from going to parties weekly. They were physical at least 4-5 times. She sent him so many nudes almost all during the morning when she was alone and without kids near her. It seems this is going on for about a month. I have no idea how they meet. She was going out last month sometimes, as she would say, on girls' nights. And I never checked her. Probably then somewhere. She was initiating meetings and conversations almost every time. He either doesn't like her enough or acts like he doesn't care, so I think she feels that and tries a lot. They had sex 2 times during the evening when she told me she was with her friend, and the rest of the time in the morning at his place. When I was in the house 2 days before, she wasn't with him but wanted to be, but he said he was busy and she was already in the city. I said to myself I will not say anything to her. We woke up today. I wasn't working. She wanted to spend time with me, but I was in my home office most of the day thinking, how TF can this happen to me? I went out tonight for dinner with my best friend and showed him everything. To be honest, I have no idea what to do right now. I will definitely divorce her. OFC, I will contact a lawyer tomorrow. Now it is late night here, even though it's Sunday. My biggest problem is that we live in a foreign country. On a different continent. I have a feeling if we divorce she will go back to her country with kids. I can't allow that. House, both cars are all in my name and paid by me. We have a significant amount in the joint account. I have my own bank account where I have savings. She doesn't have her own account. I also have 1 house and 1 property in my country that my grandparents gave me during our marriage. It's in my name. Now what to do? I can't stand near her anymore. I want to confront her. Do I confront or talk with AP? Maybe he has a wife, doubt it. Do I kick her out of the house or do I leave? Obviously if we don't have kids everything would be easier, but I love my kids more than anything and I will fight for them staying here. I will also make a DNA test even though I'm pretty sure they are mine, but you never know. Good Lord, I can't believe what I'm writing. Anyway, any advice is more than welcomed. I only said this to my best friend, I am too embarrassed to say this to anyone else. I plan to confront her today, Sunday. Thank you. Update 1. Hi everyone. A lot of you asked me for the update. There is some very good and some not very good news. First of all, I want to clarify some things. I received many messages and comments about this. My wife is both from Europe, not from the same country. We are 11 years together, 9 years married. We met in my country. Then after a year of relationship I received a job offer in Asia. She went with me. But since we weren't married she couldn't get a proper visa. She didn't work at that time. She was flying out and flying back in the country and she was on a tourist visa. About a year after we moved to Asia we married there. And then a year after she married me, we moved to another country in Asia where we have lived for the last 8 years. So 10 years in total in Asia. I lived first 2 in one country where we had a wedding. Last 8 years in the country where we are currently. A lot of you asked me where exactly AP lives. I am not sure if AP lives here the whole year or not, but I think he does. It's a huge city and there are a lot of foreigners here, and his apartment is in a downtown area where there are a lot of foreigners. Also, a lot of you asked me to give her another chance and go on the MC because of kids. I respect your opinions and everyone is different. Someone can forgive a 10 years affair, someone can't forgive innocent texting with an unknown man. I don't forgive something like this. I don't know what needs to happen for me to consider R with her. If I was a bad husband, if I didn't take care of her, if our sex life was dead. If she ever told me she is not happy, I would at least understand why she did that. But it is quite the opposite. Sex life 4-5 times per week, she is always smiling and literally since I know her says she is happy. We always spend time together, she never avoids me or becomes angry at me. So yeah, my answer is no. Only if my kids beg me and suffer so much I might live with her for some time, but I will never ever touch her again. I called the lawyer here today. Told him I really want to meet him and I can pay more since it's a Sunday and I assume it's his free time. Lawyer was really nice on the phone and we met after lunch. I showed him and explained everything to him. The news are this: all the assets I have here are completely mine. She doesn't have any rights on that currently. She is on a spousal, family visa here, doesn't work, not a citizen, while I have permanent residency. Since everything has been paid by me and everything is on my name, I am the owner of everything. All the money in the bank is mine. He advised me to take all the money from the joint account and transfer it to another bank account where she doesn't have access. Joint account is in my name, but she has credit debit cards and uses it daily for everything for the house/kids/her. So technically she doesn't have any right on that money. Cars are the same story because they are all in my name and paid for by me with clear evidence that I paid for it. The bad news are about the most important thing: kids. Since, I repeat again, she is on the spousal visa, if we divorce she can't stay here anymore. She needs to find a job or be on a tourist visa. She can't use tourist visas forever, and sooner or later someone at the immigration will stop her and deny her entry. My kids can stay with me on the family visa. Things become very tough right here about divorce. Basically 4 countries are involved. 2 home countries, the country where we married each other and the country where we are now. If we divorce in Asia, there are big chances I will be the primary custody parent. At worst we will share the custody. But if we divorce in Europe, I am basically fucked. And most likely I will have to return if I want to be near my kids. He also told me about the idea that I offer her some assets or money to make a deal that kids stay in Asia with me, but I doubt she would accept that. If I kick her out of the house and the police get involved, I won't have problems. Since I have proof I am the father, even if the police get involved, kids will stay at my house. Passports are safe and she doesn't know where I hid them. Lawyer told me to make DNA tests for the kids and to not leave the house so my wife can stay with them. I will do DNA tests tomorrow. In the meantime, he will start making everything about the divorce. After we get results from the DNA test, she will be served. All in all, a very tough and complex situation, but I will fight. I also talked with a lawyer from my home country. He told me if my wife somehow takes the kids from me and goes back to Europe while we are still not divorced, I need to file the report with the police immediately in the country where we live, and more importantly in my home country. Since both of our home countries are in the European Union, laws are very similar. If she does that, the police will be at her door very soon. So that's good. I didn't confront her. She was actually mad at me most of the day because I went out to meet the lawyer and I spent time in my home office, and according to her this is the day for us. I seriously don't know how I can contain myself to not tell her anything. She spent the last 2 days at home. Probably she waits tomorrow to call the AP. She behaves well. An hour later, she apologized to me for her being angry at me today and tried to kiss me. I am trying everything to avoid her as much as possible. Hopefully, I will go to bed when she is already asleep. Tomorrow I will make DNA tests for all the kids. Lawyer told me he will call me with all details for the best options for the divorce. I will ask for some free days at work, and after that I will confront her in April. Lawyer told me to record everything he says. Thank you so much for your messages and comments. Your advice helped me a lot. Thank you once again. Update 2. First of all, I want to say something. I am reading all of your comments, or most of them. What some of you can write is just pure craziness. Stop putting your own words and stories in my mouth. I have never ever said I want to see my wife out of the country where we live right now. If there is one person in the world that wants her to stay here, that's me then. Because that means my kids are staying. I will offer her the best deal that will allow her to stay here, but that deal includes divorce. If she rejects it, then we will fight for custody. I am not the one who should fight for her future. I didn't do shit to her. According to some of you, I should go back to Europe, in her country. I've been there 4 times in my life. I have to leave everything I have built in Asia so I could see my kids 3 days per week while I didn't do anything. She did. She cheated on me, and I should destroy everything I have so she could be in the nice spot. Because I am the father and she is cheating the mother. Or even better, I should not divorce her so she can stay here because she was cheating and doesn't know how to keep her legs closed, and I need to suffer and never meet anyone else in my life. Brilliant logic. Maybe she can find the job here and stay in the country legally and with the kids that have everything. That's also not okay? Poor her, she needs to work. Some of you said she gave up on her career because of me and kids. Again, you're making stories without knowing anything. She didn't give up on anything. I was the one telling her if she wants to work, she finished only high school, she can, and I will hire the nanny. But she didn't want to because she probably needed time for her AP. I am not forcing her out of the country. Immigration will force her if we divorce and she doesn't have a job. That's normal in every country. I am not above the law. She can find a job and stay with the kids because the best for kids is to stay here. She should do everything to be near kids. In the end, I love our kids more than she does because I didn't ruin our family. She did. Not to mention my kids don't know anyone in her country except her family. Don't speak her language and have friends and go to school, kindergarten here. Well, if you ever experience something like this in your life, you can use your logic. I will stick with mine. So to conclude this rant, I will offer her the deal with the kids staying here. She stays here but not with me. If she rejects it, we go to court and we will see what the judge will say. I also never said if we divorce she will not get anything. She will, but not as much as she would get in Europe, and I honestly don't care if I lose money, house or whatever if my kids stay here. I could transfer ownership of my house on my brother, cars, send all the money as a gift loan to him or to my parents like my lawyer told me to do if I want to keep everything after the divorce, because at this moment she is not entitled to anything before the divorce since she doesn't even have residency status here, let alone citizenship, and everything is in my name. So I can do that before I file for the divorce and she will get huge nothing here. But I am not doing that. I will earn that money back in a few years max, but my kids are forever. Now news and long updates. Yesterday I had long talks with my lawyer. He will make everything so we can divorce here where we live. It will be a tough process, but we are ready. He also gave me the contact of the lawyer in the country where we married each other. That lawyer told me that according to everything I told him, I'm in a great position. So I am literally building 2 cases if I need to. I need to divorce in Asia, not in Europe. If I divorce in the country where we live or where we married each other, there are huge chances kids will stay with me. EU courts have 0 rights or jurisdiction here, so if she ever thinks to send kids in Europe with her, she can only dream. The court, according to my lawyers, would keep kids here because 2 of 3 my kids are already in the school, spent whole life here. I am working. She doesn't. I have house, financial power for their good life and residency status. My wife could ask for the appeal in her own country where she would have bigger chances, but that process could go for years and I can delay it also in the multiple ways, and my kids would not be allowed to leave the country where we are without me allowing that. So that's great. I sent all the details about the house, cars and bank accounts to my lawyer and he is building the case. Also, I agreed with him that we make a deal for her. She can keep the house and car, but I will be the primary custody parent. Or I keep the house and I will pay for the place where she can live and we share the custody. Anything else I don't accept. When I came back home from work, she was waiting for me with the kids. Again, she looked good. We went out as a family during the evening. I had a great time with the kids. I couldn't stand her. When we came home, she tried to initiate sex, but I politely refused. She was laughing while talking about some nice moments in our past most of the night in bed, so I had to ask myself if she was completely out of her mind. Today she drove our kids to school and kindergarten before I left the house. I took all the papers I needed, suit, some clothes, and left. I decided yesterday that I will not confront her directly because of the kids. They are always near us and I don't want them to have trauma because of this. While I was at work, she was texting me about plans for us tonight. I was acting like everything was fine because I thought she might come to my work if I confronted her already, and that would cause me huge problems at my work. When she texted me at 3 p.m. that the kids are home and that they are all eating, I knew that's the moment. I finished the job shortly after. I left her some money on the joint, mine, but she has access account and took everything else to my other bank account. I sent her the text at 4:05 p.m. The funniest thing, with all the evidence I have, I still can't believe this is the reality. 11 years. I want to tell you so many things right now, but I am so disgusted by you that I just want this to end as soon as possible. You made your choice, now I am making mine. You can stay tonight. Tomorrow, after the kids leave for school, I want you to see out of my house. Don't try to do something stupid with the kids, you will just have bigger problems. I am ready for every scenario. My lawyers are ready. Be normal and we can end this in the most normal way, everything else will just put you in the worst position possible. In the end, I can't say I want you all the best. But if your best is away from me, then I want you all the best. Don't call me, and I repeat, don't do something stupid because I will not tolerate that. My lawyer will contact you about the kids immediately when you leave my house. You can meet and be with them every day, but you are not allowed to enter my property after everything you did. P.S. You look good in those nudes pictures you sent to AP. She was online when I sent her the message but didn't respond or call for the next 20 minutes. I wish I could see her face during those 20 minutes. During those 20 minutes I called the AP. He rejected the call and sent the message asking who it was. I called again and he answered. I told him that I will not do anything to him. I just want normal talk, and if he has any human decency he will meet with me wherever and whenever he wants. Whole day I thought he would reject the possible meeting, but he apologized to me and asked me where I was. I explained to him, he told me where he was, and we decided to meet at 5:30 p.m. in a bar near his flat. When my wife started to call me, I put the phone in airplane mode. AP was waiting for me. I saw that he was looking at me from 10 m away at least. I was audio recording the meeting. OFC, he knew how I look. I mean, my wife has pictures with me on her IG and us as a profile picture on WhatsApp and Line. What a lovely wife. He immediately asked me if he said everything, and after that I could ask him whatever I wanted. I told him he can, but after he says everything about him. He's 26 years old, he is from one country in Europe as I assumed. He doesn't have any GF or wife, no kids. He lives here the whole year and just enjoys his life. He looks good. He is an attractive young guy and seems like someone who only wants to bang girls. Then he started to talk about how he met my wife. They were in one restaurant club in the early August. He was with friends, she was with friends. I knew about this because she asked me if she would go out with her friends. After some time they all started to sit together. They talked a little bit, he told his IG when some of wife's friends asked. He says she wasn't flirty that day. He saw her ring and assumed she was married and didn't want anything. He showed me messages with her from other apps that I didn't know to see. She started to talk a little and after that they talked more and more. She said she loves me but that I have cheated on her. I've never looked let alone touched another woman since I met her. Before a month, and that is her revenge. When I saw that I wanted to vomit. She was saying this before or after the first time they were physical. He told me they had sex 4 times, 1 round. Whenever they would meet she would be nervous after the sex and would always say this is wrong and she would leave shortly after. He was confused with her behavior and even texted her to not meet anymore. According to him she cried last time and said this is over and that she made the worst mistakes in her life. She loves me and even though I cheated on her. This is not okay. She wrote to him that she liked the attention and that he picked her even though she is 9 years older before some single friends of her but that she doesn't have any emotional love for him but she has for me. Lucky me. Last Thursday when I came into the house in the middle of the work to catch her and found the empty house and caught her lying to me, she called him to meet. This guy actually told me with a straight face that he wanted to have sex with her that day. I mean, he has balls. He was busy somewhere and she was waiting for him in the lobby of the building where he lives. He thought she came because of sex but according to him she rejected him and told him they were done. She told him to not call her anymore and that she will never stop regretting everything that she did. She also asked him to not say a thing to anyone. He showed me messages after the meeting where she said almost the same thing because he was confused, so he asked her again if she's sure. She blocked him after that on everything and never called again. Probably she deleted all these messages because I didn't see those messages on her phone. Did she forget to delete those hidden messages I actually saw? I have no idea. I don't know if he is lying but I don't think he does. He doesn't have any reason to defend her because he actually said a lot of bad things about her and gave me every evidence I needed. He showed me literally every message, he said about every disgusting detail. He even told me one of my wife's friends knew about them. So he told me basically more than I wanted. While we were talking my wife called him. He showed me and asked me if I wanted him to answer. I told him to not answer. She started to send him messages and voice messages. Some of the quoted messages are voice messages where she screamed like a lunatic. Her, where is he? Why did you tell him? I hate it, you destroyed my life, where is he? Him, what are you talking about? Why are you attacking me when you lied to me and him? Her, how does he know? He left me. You destroyed me. I told you we are over, why did you do this? Where is he? I am trying to find him. Him. I didn't tell him anything. I didn't do anything. You are married. Her, I made mistakes but I don't love you. I love my husband. I don't love you. I never loved anyone except him. I made the worst mistake in my life. I never liked you except for fun. I wish I never met you. Him, I really don't care who you love, but why did you lie to me? Her, I didn't lie about anything. I really love my husband and he left me now. I don't want to live, he left me. Him, I am not talking about that. You lied, he cheated on you and that's why you are doing this. How many guys have you been behind his back saying the same thing you told me? Her, with 0, you are the first and last and I can't believe I did this. You told him and destroyed me because I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Him, I don't give a damn what you want or not. I didn't tell him anything. Answer my question. Her, you told him, you're a horrible human being. Him, answer the question. Her, what question? Him, why did you lie he cheated on you? Her, because I am an idiot and liked the attention and lost control and now I lost everything. How does he know about this if you didn't tell him? Him, I didn't say anything and I need to go. Her, How do you know I lied about him if you didn't talk? I know you told him everything. I hate you. You destroyed me. Him, again, I didn't tell him anything, but I hope he will not forgive you. She blocked him after this. I was just looking at him for 2 minutes without saying anything. I was close to starting to cry. He was apologizing like crazy and said if he knew that she is happily married he wouldn't do anything. He says I don't need to believe him, but that's the truth. He told me he doesn't want anything with her and never planned. Also, he sent me SS of all their messages immediately so I can have it during the divorce process. He asked me what I want to do with her in the marriage. I told him everything and he wished me and my kids best of luck and asked me if she called him or sent him any message. Do I want him to tell me? I said I wanted to. He told me if I need anything I can call him. We even shook hands. If someone told me before a week that I will DNA test my 3 kids and shake hands with my wife's lover, I would think I am high, but this is my life. In the end, it's not his fault. I didn't marry him. I sent the audio recording of the meeting and SS of their messages to my lawyer, and talked with him a little bit. He told me with everything AP said and messages that he sent me, it would increase even more my chances during the divorce. Now, I am in the hotel. I didn't block my wife. She sent me 1 billion messages and called me at least 100 times. Even my friends called me asking where I was because my wife told them we had a huge fight and I left the house. In the morning when my kids leave for school kindergarten I will confront her eyes and eyes, and then in the afternoon I will DNA test kids. I took some free days from work this week so I have time. That's it. I know some of you will tell me I shouldn't do this and that, but I am trying my best. It's much easier to give advice from the phone than actually living this shit and going through a roller coaster of emotions. This is by far my worst period in my life and I have been through some really shitty situations during my life. I don't know if I will update, probably I will put in another sub or at my profile, but if I don't, just be smarter than I was. Thank you all and take care. Update 3, I will post here because I don't have time to deal with the trolls. Hey guys, a lot of you asked me for the update. I am really busy these days, but a lot of things have happened, so let me share because strangely enough I find writing about this very therapeutic. Okay, so my last update was when I was at the hotel. During that night my wife's best friend called me and said she will be near her with the kids. Me and her have a great relationship and she is in my eyes by far her best friend. She called me on Wednesday early in the morning that she is driving my kids for the school because my wife can't stop crying. I jumped in the car, picked my friend, Witness, and we came to my house. Honestly, I can say it was much easier than I expected to kick her out. Yeah, it wasn't the fastest process, 2 HRs, but at the end she left without police being involved. She cried, begged for forgiveness, she would explain everything to me, everything. She screamed, begged again, didn't listen to her friend, my lawyer. I even told her if she doesn't leave I will call the police and do everything in my power to deport her. Again, she didn't want to leave. She just wanted to talk with me. Then I just said to myself that I will lie to her. I told her to leave if she loves me so I can have space and that I will call her today when I think a little bit about everything. I just wanted her to see out of my property. She left with some clothes shortly after. Since then she has lived with her best friend. During the day I did most of the things I needed. Changed the locks at the house and at the gates of the property. Cut her off from everything that is on my name and she uses. I hired the babysitter Melody. On Monday I talked with my coworker, female. She also has younger kids and she recommended me to Melody. Melody doesn't work for her anymore because my coworker's husband is now working from home so they don't need her anymore. Melody is really nice. She is also from Asia, speaks great English and local language. She drives, cooks, cleans, CV is good, no criminal record, so I agreed that she works for me. I also tested my kids and myself for STDs. My kids asked me after school where my wife is. I told them we will be separated for now. They had some questions. I told them if they wanted to talk or see her just let me know. Both of my sons said it's okay and that was that. They met Melody and they looked normal around her. My wife called me the whole day and again sent so many messages. Then on Thursday I had another chaos with her. I drove my kids to school and my daughter to kindergarten. I came back home. I was doing some things on the PC, Melody was doing chores, and then I had a call from the school where both of my sons go. The principal called me and said my wife wanted to see my older son during the class and that security stopped her. She made the scene and said to her that she didn't see her kids for 2 days. Again, I jumped immediately in the car. I needed at least 30 minutes to get there. During those 30 minutes the principal called me again and said she talked with my wife again and that she and a psychologist in the school contacted Child Protective Service, CPS, because apparently that's the law where we live. It's not, in these situations. When I came to the school, my wife again wanted me to talk to her. Begged, cried, same all. All of that in front of people from the school. They explained to me that my wife told them she didn't see kids for 2 days and is scared. Then one woman arrived from the CPS. She started to attack me immediately. How can I just steal kids from their mom? I was shocked. She was accusing me like I am some kind of drug dealer. To be honest, my wife did defend me in front of them. She said I didn't steal kids and I didn't forbid her to do anything, but she wanted to see them now because I kicked her out of the house. She just wants to come back in the house, will do anything blah blah blah. When she said that woman from the CPS and the principal attacked me again. They even suggested my wife to call the police because they assumed I kicked her out without anything and that I was aggressive. When I heard that, I had enough. I called the lawyer immediately. He was busy but told me he will come and not speak with them. I was waiting for him and didn't say a word. My wife explained to everyone what happened in our lives. She was more or less honest, and again she said she will do this and that, I need to forgive her, she loves me, blah blah blah. While she was saying that, literally everyone gave her support. I was just speechless. Then when she tried to hug me or kiss, I pushed her away, and this woman from the CPS said that I have clear signs of an abuser. I was so close to saying a lot of things, but again I didn't say anything. My wife told her that's not true and that I have never ever raised my voice, let alone hand it to her, and it's her fault, but she loves me and can't live without me. Before my lawyer came, another woman from CPS arrived and she was the same as the first one. I am the worst, I am horrible, my wife is sweet and innocent. Whatever. My lawyer came and he was furious with them. He showed all the details about me. About my wife. Mostly immigration details. He said she doesn't work, doesn't have a place to live, might be deported and is mentally unstable and is not the right person to be around my kids. He told them about some articles in the law that they can't do this and that this is against the law. While he was speaking, my wife realized he is my divorce lawyer and started to attack him on how he can be so cruel and without heart. The principal told her and me to leave the office while they were talking inside. We were in the hallway. Again she cries, tries to talk with me. I was just looking at the security guy who was 100% laughing inside himself with what kind of lunatic I needed to deal with. The principal left the office and went to bring my kids. My older son asked me what was going on. I just told him to answer what they asked him and that's it. After maybe 3 minutes, the principal called us to come into the office. That first cow from the CPS said the kids said everything and that they have the most important details. I asked them what details and she said both of my sons said they want to stay with me and that they enjoy being with me. They repeated the same in front of me and my wife. My wife for the 100th time started to cry again. My older son even moved a little bit so she couldn't hug him. They left after that. These women from CPS said me and my wife need to make a deal for the kids. I said we will after I solve everything that I need. And then she gave me a paper and told me to sign. It was in the local language, so I needed a little bit of time to read all of that, so my lawyer took that paper and told me to not sign. They wanted me to sign that so they have legal grounds to visit my home every week uninvited to see how I'm doing with the kids. My lawyer attacked them that they are doing this for their bonuses and that they don't have any legal right to ask me to sign this and that they can call whoever they want. They said they will contact their supervisors and that the police will probably contact me. I left immediately. No one contacted me still. My wife stormed after me and begged me again to talk. I just drove off. When my kids came home, I talked with them about everything what happened. They told me they heard my wife in the Tuesday when I sent her that message how she cries and begs me to listen to her, so they know it's her fault. Smart little kids. I drove them to football practice. My daughter was with Melody. She likes her a lot. My sons even helped Melody to clean after they ate and they wouldn't do that with my wife, so I think deep down they know they need to behave as best as possible and help me during this time. Again, my wife calls me 24/7. I think she should be in the Guinness World Records for the most calls made and messages sent. Today was a much better day. Everything in the school was good. My daughter stayed at home because they have a free day today. Melody is making her hair, they sing, they are a great duo for now. My wife's friend called me in the afternoon saying that my wife wants to see kids. I told her it's okay. They arrived and my wife immediately saw I changed the gates. My daughter was very happy to see her. Wife was crying when she saw her. She was waiting for my sons. And both of them told her they don't want to be with her now. I told them to talk a little bit with her because she was crying literally on the street, but they refused and went into their bedroom and later to play with their friends on the street. I told her to leave and she begged me again to give her a chance to tell me everything. I told her that she needs to wait to talk with me until I receive DNA tests. She put my daughter on the ground and just looked at me for 10 seconds completely frozen. Honestly, I thought at those moments kids are not mine. She was shocked and said kids are mine and she can't believe I'm saying this. I really think this was the moment when she finally realized what she did. She told me again that the kids are mine and she jumped in the car. I talked a little bit with her friend and I could see my wife was crying like crazy. They left after that. My wife's friend brought my daughter back. She said my wife locked herself in the bedroom. She called her parents to confess everything and she is in a state of shock that I've tested our kids. Kids are mine. She never looked at anyone during the marriage except AP. My wife told her friend that she can't believe what she did and that she knows now she lost everything when I did the DNA test because that's very extreme and she thinks I don't trust her anything. Her parents called me tonight. To say they are furious is understatement. Her mom begged me to not cut the contact between them and my kids. I said they can always call them and come here but that I will not allow my kids to leave Asia before we divorce. She is fine with that and thanked me. Her father told me she is not welcome anymore in their home. They are disgusted she could do something like this and he told her to not call them anymore. They are very conservative, 40 plus years in the marriage so this was kinda expected. Her older brother told me the same. That he blocked her and that he is disgusted that she is his sister. They all gave me full support and told me to inform them about everything. They FaceTimed a little bit with my kids and they had a good time. That's about that. Hopefully the weekend will be much easier. I am very tired. Mentally but physically also. We are going to watch a football game with my friend's family and hopefully my wife will give me some peace. Since I told her about DNA tests she didn't call me anymore, so that's at least something good. I am waiting for the DNA results. My younger son has 7th birthday next Saturday so that will also be one huge pain in the ass to be around my wife, but it is what it is. Thank you for your advice and nice words. Update 4. Hello. Yes, I am the father. I mean, I knew 99% of the kids were mine but you never know. In the end, I thought my wife was a loyal woman but she isn't. I can say I can breathe with the full lungs finally. Now everything is easier. When I received the results today I was so scared to read it. I needed to take 10 minutes before I actually saw the results. Damn, if someone told me this will be my life. But here we are. I started to work again today. Melody is taking care of everything. My friend and his wife are there to help her. She sent me pictures of my kids when she drove them from the school and when they were eating. She is really good and kids love her. Well, these last 5 days were really tough mentally so let me start. Weekend, my wife didn't call me at all since I told her about DNA tests. She was still sending me messages but didn't call. Her friend told me she looks like shit and behaves like she has a mental breakdown. She would send me about 30 messages per day, before it was 150, 200 at least. Mostly were something like this. Good morning, have a great day, I am so sorry for everything, please call me if you have any desire. I am so proud of you how you are taking care of everything. I can't express how sorry I am for everything. I wish I never went out that night, I wish I told you immediately. She would sometimes change the words, but the context would be the same. And she would send me some pictures of us and kids from the past, from the vacations, us all being on the couch, in the restaurants, etc. I have to say that until yesterday she would just FaceTime with my daughter, sons still refuse, every day, but she didn't come to pick her up. IDKY but as her friend says she just doesn't seem normal right now. Well, my brother called me on the Saturday. I didn't tell him or anyone in my family what was going on. Whenever they would call to see my kids, me and my wife I would have some excuse why my wife isn't near me. I knew she didn't tell them. Until she actually did. So my brother called me and he told me she confessed everything. He was shocked and couldn't believe it. He thought we were joking with him. Yes people, with all the evidence still no one can believe. I think people would rather believe she became president of the USA than this. That's how shocking and how big betrayal this is. My brother's wife is very close to my wife. After she heard about all of this she cut every contact with her, my brother did the same. At first I thought she did it because of me, to show me support even though as I said they are really close. But no. She did it also because she is also disgusted by her and doesn't want to see a person like her around my brother her husband. I actually laughed at this, but I appreciated the support. So my wife lost one of the last people she could call. My brother told me they will try to come to see me soon so I'm glad. Then my parents called me. My wife also told them everything. My father supports every decision I make and he tells me just to do the best for me and the kids. On the other hand my mother tells me I should forgive my wife because she is human and did the mistake. She is remorseful, ready to do anything and One mistake should not be enough to forget on 11 years of love and 3 kids she gave me. I told her immediately that it wasn't one mistake, but 4 mistakes in 1 month duration. Her answer was, "You should ask yourself why she does that. Was everything okay with you two?" I hung up immediately. I love my mom. After kids, she is by far the most important person in my life, and I would do everything for her. She saved my life when I was younger and had so many problems. If she wasn't my mother, I would be in the grave or on the street, and she is my guardian angel, but I just can't believe she could say something like that. Then my father attacked her. Why is she defending cheaters? My mother apologized immediately. She just thinks about what is best for my kids, and told me whatever I decide she also supports. I didn't have enough energy to talk anymore. Wife's parents and her brother still don't talk with her and actually told me that they will call her friend to tell her that they will send the remaining stuff she has in her own country to her and that she is not allowed to enter their house anymore. If we forget all of this, the weekend was actually really good. We went with my friend's family to watch a football game. Went shopping. The kids were laughing and smiling. That's what is most important. Now, another chaos with my wife. You remember how I told you she stopped calling me? It didn't last long. I need to add a little bit of context here. My first assistant at work for the last 16 months is Sarah, 29. She is a great worker, professional, very smart and kind person. But she is also really attractive, and since she moved here and since she works with me, also single. I told my wife about her before she started to work with me. My previous assistant was a guy. She was okay with that, nothing special, until she saw how she looks and that she is single. Then she became cautious. Irony, huh? Sarah would sometimes send me messages during the night, 9 p.m., and always about work, but she would wish me good night, as my wife would say, in a weird way, and my wife would be very angry and insecure about that. Irony, huh? 2.0. Then she would sometimes come to my workplace with the kids without calling me. I didn't have any problem with that, since she would do this also before when I didn't work with Sarah, but now she was doing this firstly to see how me and Sarah would react. Anyway, with time her jealousy decreased because I assured her nothing was going on. But she was concerned about her intentions, and she would say she can see Sarah is eating me with the eyes, and my wife never liked her and was really cold whenever they two would be near each other. This Monday we had a really important event in our company. Sarah and I have always been in contact since I took days off from work. I told her it's about personal reasons and she wished me all the best. I didn't want to go to that event, but eventually they told me to come. I asked Sarah if she wanted me to pick her up. I know how this sounds, but I have my reasons why I asked her. Event was in the hall in the different part of the city, and I literally needed to drive near her apartment complex to come there. She doesn't drive. I never picked her up before because of my wife. She was working extra since I am at home, and she was doing basically my job for free and never said a thing. In the end, I don't need to explain anything to my wife. I can pick up 10000 girls now if I want. I picked her up, we talked, came to the event, we were on the same dinner table with 6 more people. I drove her back home, she wished me good night. I did the same and went home. Melody was there, I wished her good night. My kids were sleeping and I went into my bedroom. And then I went to see messages on WhatsApp. I turned off all notifications from Viber, Line, WhatsApp, Telegram, because my phone is melting when my wife starts with her calls and messages. And there I saw a lot of messages from my wife and her friend. I checked messages from her friend, and basically she told me my wife is going crazy and having a mental breakdown because someone told her that me and Sarah were really close and enjoying time together at that event. I asked her immediately who told her that, and she told me she can't tell me. My wife was saying how I changed her for younger. Irony, huh? 3.0. Smarter and more attractive model. How my kids were going to have young stepmom who will be with me the whole day because we work together and are very likely already together. I just started to laugh and said that I don't have time for this nonsense. If there is one thing that I really don't care about now and is not on my mind, then it is having any relationship with any woman now. Even if I did something and I didn't, I don't owe her shit. I was loyal more than 11 years to her, and to be honest, I had much more situations where girls were approaching me thinking I'm single than guys looking approaching her, and she fucked up, not me. I went under the shower and I was just asking myself who told her this. My wife is not close to anyone from my work. She doesn't talk with anyone. The only person that knows about my situation from work is my female coworker that recommended me Melody. She is really close to me and she had horrible things to say about my wife after I told her everything, and she didn't say anything to anyone 100%. I just said to myself, someone from work that doesn't like me sent her message, probably from the burner account, and that's it. I called Sarah and told her we need to see each other tomorrow. And yesterday we went for coffee and I told her everything about my wife. She was shocked that someone could say something like that. I told her everything because of a few reasons. I expected my wife to call her and have another lunatic episode. Luckily she didn't. I wouldn't lose my job at all if this is even true between us, but I don't want someone to tell complete lies about me. Also, why would anyone lie about her? She is sleeping with her boss and that's why she has a job. And also I didn't want to hear any rumor that my infidelity is the reason for my divorce and that possibly can ruin my chances during divorce process. She told me she will tell me if she hears anything, and today when I returned to the job everything was perfect. My wife started to call me again every 5 minutes. She constantly cries, begs for a new chance. She will do everything, whatever I want. She came yesterday to see kids. My sons were at football practice, but she took our daughter. When she brought our daughter back she tried to ask me a few questions about Sarah, but I left immediately. I don't need to explain myself to her at all. But the thing I do notice about her is that she definitely lost some weight. Her friend tells me my wife refuses to eat, and bags under her eyes look like she is a crackhead. On Friday my younger son turned 7, but he will celebrate on Saturday with his friends and other kids in our house. My wife will be there and her being around me for a few hours is one huge disaster in the making, but I will try to stay calm because of my kids. On Sunday I plan to confront her one-on-one about DNA results and offer her a deal about her future, so I will update after that probably. I promised myself this won't be long, but it is long. Sorry guys, apparently I am not capable of making a long story short. Thank you for your nice messages and comments like always, and take care. Update 5. Hi everyone. I said I will update after I speak with my wife on Sunday about everything, but I actually already did it, or maybe did it. It will be a long post, so feel free to skip it. If no one reads it, I'm okay. I feel better when I write this because I'm feeling the worst ever, so at least I can vent here. On Thursday my wife called me to ask if she could take our daughter for a sleepover. Our daughter doesn't go to the kindergarten on Fridays, so she is free. I told her she can. She came and again she tried a little talk with me, but I didn't want anything. She wanted to talk but I told her to leave, but she asked me if she could talk a little bit with our younger son since he will turn 7 tomorrow. I called him and he came. He was standing away from her but he was listening to her. She told him how she already bought him gifts and how much she loves him. Eventually she hugged him and kissed him, but he didn't respond. He literally didn't say a word and just left while she was standing there. My older son still refuses to see her, let alone talk with her. She left with our daughter and promised they will be back by 5 p.m. tomorrow. So in about 24 hours they will be together. She was sending me a lot of pictures of how they are making pancakes, sleeping together and playing together. And also sent me so many messages saying how she regrets this is not happening with all 5 of us right now. Yesterday, Friday, my son became a grown man. My older son congratulated him. He was really happy and in a good mood. I drove them to school and went to work. While I was working my wife called me again asking if she could spend the afternoon and evening with our son and daughter. She assumed older son would refuse. Again, I said she can. She was texting me through the day that she planned everything and I know she was excited. They will go eat, then they will go to the amusement park, they will drive go-kart, then go on ice creams. I liked everything. To be honest, my younger son in my eyes suffers the most with this situation. While my daughter is very young and unaware of anything and sees her mother a lot, and my older son is very clear that he doesn't want to have contact with my wife, the younger son is very quiet and looks very confused. So I like the idea of them 3 spending time together. I specifically told her to not enter the house and wait for me because I need to talk with him first and I need to see his reaction. I don't want to force him on anything. She agreed and told me she will wait for me. I had to stay a little bit more at the workplace and my friend and his wife were waiting for me in my house so they could go with me to buy everything I needed for the birthday. Food, drinks, cakes, gifts. I texted my wife and told her I left my workplace a little bit late and that there is big traffic in the city, so I will be late. She told me she is close to my house but she will wait for me. I called my friend and told him that my wife is coming. I also called Melody to prepare other clothes for my daughter and asked her what my sons are doing. Everything that happened after that I didn't see. Melody, a friend and his wife told me this and I believe them 100%. My wife arrived with her friend and our daughter. Apparently my daughter invited her to the house to show her something, according to my wife's friend. My friend and his wife with my sons were inside of the house then. Melody was in the backyard and stopped her from entering the house. My wife started to fight with Melody. Who is she to forbid her to enter the house with her daughter? Friend's wife heard the noise and went out. Friend's wife and my wife were friends, but she doesn't talk with her anymore after I told her what happened. She told her to calm down and to respect my decision. Wife was much more calm and kind towards the friend's wife than she was with Melody. My daughter was then calling her again from the door to come, and they again stopped her from entering the house. My wife's friend told her to wait for me in the street. And then my older son stormed out of the house. Started to yell at her that no one loves her, to get out of here, that we are happy without her and daddy is happy without you. And that everyone hates her. She started to cry and begged him to talk with her, but he was yelling like crazy at her. She left the gifts for my younger son and went with her friend in the car. Then my older son took those gifts and threw them on the street while they were in the car. My friend then put him in the house. According to my friend's wife, my wife left crying like crazy. I came home, didn't see my wife, and then they told me everything. I couldn't believe it. All my kids were always kind, nice, not spoiled and never rude. My older son was always a little bit more connected with me, but he never ever told anything rude to my wife before all of this, and he always loved her so much. So I told him to come into my room. I literally asked him if he was normal. He apologized to me and said he couldn't listen to her anymore. I told him he should never ever talk like that with his mother and that those gifts aren't for him and that he doesn't need to apologize to me but to his mother and brother. He started to cry, saying I'm forcing him to call my wife and that he won't talk with her because he hates her. I was speechless. I know he needs therapy and I will solve that really soon. He apologized to his brother. Then I spoke with my younger son. I asked him if he wanted to see his mother on his birthday tomorrow and he said he doesn't. I asked him a few times if he was sure and he said he is. He also refused to see gifts from her and told me to give her back everything she bought. So I called my wife's friend to tell her about this. She told me my wife is having a panic attack and struggles to breathe. After 2 hours she called me saying that she needed to call 2 of her own friends because of my wife and that she is sleeping now after she took some pills. Today when I woke up I saw messages from my wife. She basically told me she doesn't want to live anymore. She can't live without us and she wants to leave and leave me and our 3 kids alone. I called her and told her that I will send her pictures and videos from the birthday but to not disturb me today and that I will talk with both sons after this. She thanked me and again she was saying how sorry she is. A lot of kids came on the birthday. Also friends from my older son and my daughter. So many parents. My friends with their kids. I was just looking at all those couples, how they are smiling and enjoying themselves while I'm trying to pretend everything is okay. What my life turned into. I really wanted to vomit then. I just wanted my birthday to finish as soon as possible. When Melody left as the last one and my kids were in the living room opening the gifts, I went in the garage and I called my wife. I told her to not interrupt me and to shut up. I was screaming, yelling, crying and sarcastically laughing for about 5 minutes. And I told her so many bad things. I didn't curse all the people in the world together as much as I did her. I told her the worst things. And I don't regret anything I said to her. She didn't interrupt me but I could hear her crying. When I finished with my part she just said, I am so sorry, I will do anything, and kept crying. I wanted to break my phone at that moment. Just told her to fuck off and I ended the call. Now I am sitting in the dark bedroom and I'm writing this. I am just asking myself, what the fuck did I do to deserve this? Is this karma for my crazy behavior when I was younger? I guess I will never know. I was always a problematic kid. Good in school, horrible out of school. I was running from the house so I could be with my girlfriend. I was stealing money from the parents. My mom came up with the idea that I should start practicing taekwondo so I could release all my energy there. Boy, she was wrong. I started to fight every day and I ended up in the police. Then I went to college. I became friends with the wrong people. I would have exams at 9 a.m. and I would stay in the casino till 6 a.m. playing poker tournaments or blackjack, or I would just drink and go to the nightclubs with the friends and girls. Then I met my wife. She came to work in my country. Some guys had eyes on her, but she was shy and I was a complete mess, but for some reason she liked me. 3 months later she had to go back to her country, but she decided to stay with me. She gave me almost all of her savings so I can pay my debts after about 5 months of relationship. I really thought she was insane for doing that. I still do, but she did change my life and I changed myself because of her. We left about 10 months later for Asia. I will never forget the first apartment where we lived. It was the biggest shithole I have ever lived or maybe even seen. I've no idea how we lived there for 8 months. But we were saving money and we were really happy. Now, I have a house, cars, money, and I'm not happy. I don't want to sound arrogant, but girls always says I'm good-looking guy in the great shape. I am working out 3-4 times per week, I have great job, career, and I know I can find new GF wife easily, but I seriously think I will never ever marry again. I will never trust anyone 100%. I know this might be a temporary feeling and that life is full of challenges and I should be happy because my kids, parents, brother, nephews, friends are all healthy and love me, but I am really tired and empty. Sometimes I just want to give up, but then I remember I have 3 kids. Everyone around me expects me to be some kind of magician who is expected to do everything good for everyone around me. Everyone expects me to suffer in silence and to not say a shit what is going through my head. Do best for your kids. Take care of your wife. Maybe she will do something to herself. Do that, don't do that. Forgive her, go on MC. Don't forgive her, destroy her. Forgive her because of the kids and in some time you will love her again. Fuck her, don't forgive her, kids are better with you and without her. I am so tired, tomorrow is just a day for me and the kids. Thank you all. Update 6. Hey guys, a lot of you are messaging me. Everything is alright. Firstly, thank you for your concerns. To be honest with you, I don't know what to tell you. I guess everything is okay? Since I can't sleep, I decided to write this in this late hour. I am feeling much better than in Saturday. I haven't seen my wife since last Thursday. The last time my kids have seen her was on Friday when my son turned 7 and my older son kicked her out. She is still sending me messages and calling our daughter. Yesterday her friend brought me an envelope that my wife sent me. It was a 9-page letter plus 4 additional pages of her changes. She wrote a lot of that, so I will quote some of the parts. First 5 pages were basically just about our past, literally the timeline of our relationship. What we have been through, our best and worst moments, but how we always stuck together. Last 4 pages. I am embarrassed to say I'm sorry. I can't express how sorry I am. I understand it doesn't mean you too much, but I'm really sorry. I wish I could turn the time back. Seeing you and kids hurt really makes me want to die. I should be the person to help you, not to hurt you. I failed as a mother and wife. When D, older son, yelled at me, I really wished I was dead. What kind of mother does this to her kids? What kind of wife does this to her husband? I understand that you will never love me like you did. That you will not trust me like you did. When you told me you made DNA tests for all of our kids, my heart broke into pieces. That was the toughest moment in my life. That moment when you told me straight in the face that you don't believe me since we met each other and you will probably never believe me again. I need to live with that fact. I just want you to know that I love you. I know you don't think that, but I really love you. I would give my life now for you. I hope I can prove this somehow. I wish you could put my heart in some machine so you can get results to see that I love you. I always knew I love you more than anyone, but after everything I did, I know I love you even more than that. I understand how horrible this sounds, but this is the truth. I threw all of that for what? For a little bit of attention. I lied about you cheating on me so I can have excuses in mine and AP's eyes. Who does that? Only horrible and cruel people. I am really lost. But you are not. I wish I could tell you to be with some girl so we can be one. One, but the truth is we can never be one. One. Whatever you do will not be the same as what I did. Also, I can't imagine seeing you with another woman. I know this is again selfish, but I do love you and I can't accept that, and I hate myself that you don't believe me. I hate myself for whatever I say or do. You just ignore me and don't believe. I wish you broke every single bone inside me that day instead of this. I pray every day and night that you will call me and tell me to come back. I truly believe that day will come. If there is a 0.001% chance, I will believe. And I will never stop believing. I will accept whatever condition you make me return. I will sleep on the floor, I will clean, cook, wash, not talk with anyone, I will lick the floor if I need to. I just want to be near you. I will never understand why I did that. What did I achieve? I was telling Z, her married friend that knew about the affair, how I don't find AP more attractive than you. In my eyes, no one is more beautiful than you. How I love sex with you 1,000,000 times more than with him. And I still went there a few times. I am so sick. I know you don't want to hear this, but I felt like the biggest trash then and with you like the happiest person. And again, I still did this. Since you left me, I ask myself, was everything okay with me back then? Sure, it wasn't, but when I try to remember everything, I feel like someone changed my head, like some type of drug was inside me to do that. I could never imagine myself doing that. Not even in the dreams. And I did that in reality and hurt the person I love the most. I really hope I will find the answer why I did this. I just hope you will not make your decision till then. You were always stronger than I was. I hope you will survive till then. If you want me to leave and stop calling, I will do that, but please don't forget about me. Don't give up on us like I did. I know this sounds horrible, but don't give up on us because of kids and everything we went through together. I know because of this my betrayal is even bigger, but I will do everything so we can be happy again wherever we will be. I am ready to follow you and be there for you 1,000 times more than I was till now. You know I would do and give everything for kids and you. You know how happy we were, but I destroyed everything. If you give me another chance we will be happy again, because of you. We will have again like we had. I will show you for the rest of my life how sorry I am and that nothing and no one can stop my love for you. I understand you can say AP stopped, but he didn't. I never looked at AP like I was looking at you. I never touched him like I was touching you. I never even kissed him. I would never bring him near my kids. I would never ever tell him my secrets that I told you after a week of our relationship. I never smiled with him, but I was always smiling with you. I understand my actions tell a different story, but you were always the only man in my heart and I will never stop hating myself for everything I did. I am so sorry for breaking your heart along with mine. This is something I will never ever forget, but I will live the rest of my life to be there for you and our angels in the best and worst, and I will appreciate every second with you more than ever. I love you more than anything, S. 2 additional pages were about her changes. She wrote this: I'm always telling you that I will do everything for you to forgive me, but I didn't actually do anything yet. Now I will make everything in my power so you can have some answers in your head and start believing me and hopefully one day forgive me, at least in your mind, if not heart. She deleted her IG, TikTok, FB and will never activate them again. I can just say finally. She is trying to find a job. Hey, she has only high school. She has less than 10% chances to find the job here, even as a cleaner, but respect for the hustle. She will write a full timeline about her affair. I really don't care about this. She will not force contact with our sons, but she will go on every football practice they have and watch them. She will come to every event in the school. If they tell her to leave, she will leave. She will send them a few letters per week and will bring their favorite food, snacks and toys a couple of times per week. Okay, I like this. She cut contact with the friend that knew about the affair and told her to not call her anymore. It's not her fault, but she can't ask for my forgiveness if she still keeps in contact with the person that encouraged her to prolong the affair. She told me she will tell friend's husband that she knows about everything if I want. I like this because I never liked that cow and I honestly don't care if my husband knows or not. She will go on polygraph. She will answer about 20 questions about me, her and AP, and did she ever cheat me before. She is scheduled for 2 days. I am actually looking forward to this. I checked the reviews and it seems this agency is reliable. She will never ever leave the home without me. She says we can put the camera in our home so I can watch if she leaves. When I leave the house and I invite her with me, she will leave. If not, she will just be in the house around the kids. Yeah, this is insane. She will sign a postnup/deal/agreement that says if she ever makes any kind of infidelity, texting with unknown man, sexting, flirting, or PA, she is giving me full custody and leaving all the assets to me. I don't even know if this is possible, especially about kids. I know for assets it might be possible, but not so sure about kids. She starts going on IC this week. Whatever. She will not use phone anymore. If she does, she will not have a password and will delete and block all male, female contacts except us, family and 2 friends. She never had a password and I really don't care about her contacts. If we reconcile when she drives kids to the school and then goes to the supermarket, she will share her location and video record herself in the supermarket so I know she is not talking or meeting with anyone. Or she can order food directly to the house and I can see on the camera that she had contact with the delivery guy. As I said, insane. She started to listen to some podcasts from the ex-cheater and will purchase some books about infidelity. I can't express how much I don't care about this. There was also some other stuff, but it was literally so crazy. Like she will sell all her clothes and use that money for something else. If there is one thing about her that I still believe in, then it is that she doesn't care about money. She never ever bought herself any expensive piece of clothes, shoes, jewelry, bags, she just doesn't care about that. So if she sells everything, she wouldn't earn a lot. Also, she said when she finds a job she will buy food for herself and other things, so she will never take $1 from me. But my favorite is that she will sell her phone and start using an old phone like Nokia 3310. I would love to see that. At least she wouldn't be capable of sending me so many damn messages that fast. That's about that. Kids are okay. Doing as best as they can. I have a lot of things to do at my workplace, so I'm pretty busy. As I said, my wife still sends me messages where she wishes me good day, morning, night and asks how kids are doing. She sends me some pictures from the past or how she had dreams about some moments of us, and of course how much she regrets and loves me. Both of my sons will start visiting a psychologist tomorrow. I hope I will find some answers after that. Maybe I will update after if she sends me polygraph results. Thank you as always. Update 7. My kids started to visit a psychologist and it's not good. I talked with the psychologist days before their first session and explained everything to her. We went for the first time on Wednesday. After the session she explained to me that my older son is really hurt with everything. According to her he has hate towards my wife, his mother, but that is his defensive mechanism. On the other hand, my younger son, according to her, suffers even more. She told me she can see that he just behaves like his older brother. In his statements she can see that he doesn't have a bad opinion about my wife but follows my older son and talks and behaves like the older one does. She told me the next time she would like to talk with them one by one. So we went again yesterday. My older brother was the first, then my younger. Each talked for about 60 minutes. When my younger son was inside, me and the older boy went to eat while we were waiting for the younger son. I didn't want to ask him anything, but then he told me out of nowhere something like, "Dad, I don't like this woman. She is bored and tells me to cry, but I just want to go home and play with my friends." I tried to stay normal, but I started to laugh. He is really mini-me. Anyway, we went back to pick my younger son and then I talked with the psychologist. She told me straight away that my older son will need a lot of sessions. He is very protective of me and completely refuses to even acknowledge my wife. She is stunned that they had a perfect relationship and now that he behaves and talks like this. But she tells me he is 100% aware of what is happening and that my wife hurt me badly and that is his reason to be like this. She asked him if he has any desire to see her and he immediately said that he doesn't. Because of those answers she even asked me if I seeing some other woman and I was WTF. But then she shocked me for real when she said my younger self was in tears and finally opened himself. As we both thought, he follows my older son in his actions. Since all of this has happened, my older son was telling my younger son each day how my wife is cruel and evil and they need to support me. My younger son wanted to see her on his birthday and was sad when he saw her crying when my older son yelled at her. But didn't want to call her because he didn't want to disappoint me and my older son. He confessed to a psychologist that he misses her a lot. She told me I can call my wife next or another week so she can be in session with my younger son and I said that's fine. And she told me to talk with him when we come home because he feels very sad now. We came home and we talked. He told me basically the same thing he said to her. Apparently my older son even told him a few days before his birthday to not call my wife at all. That she doesn't deserve to be around us. My younger son didn't like how my wife talked with Melody, but he wanted her to be at his birthday party. So I told him immediately that I asked him a lot of times if he was sure to not invite her and every time he said he didn't want her. But again he explains he didn't want to disappoint us. I asked him what he wanted. Does he want to be with her? I told him he can be with her and I will visit him whenever I can daily. He immediately said no. He said he would like her to come back to live with us and he doesn't want to be with her without me. I told him he can tell me his true feelings and no one will be angry or disappointed and he said this is how he feels. He even started to cry, so I stopped with questions and told him to calm down. Then later I talked with the older one and he is just one piece of mystery. He admitted that he was telling bad things about my wife to my younger son because she deserves it. I asked him immediately why she deserves that and he responded quickly because she hurt me. So I'm up and down with him. I don't know if he knows something I don't. I mean, he will be 9 in December. He is a very smart kid and a great student, so I agree with the psychologist that he is aware of everything. I asked him if he wanted my wife to come back and he said no. My daughter is crazy about my wife, so no problem about her. I am in contact with my wife but only with kids. She is begging for a new chance as always, sends long texts a few times per day. She called me today to say that her friend, not the married one that knew about AP, talked with her and he can find her job as a translator. My wife speaks perfect English and is fluent in the local language. She also reads and writes in local language perfectly and that's very tough. So she is very excited because of this, but even more because she would work mostly from the house and that is the most important to her because she can then prove me she is not doing anything except working. I didn't tell her anything about kids and psychologist. Also, on Wednesday when we finished with the psychologist I drove my kids to football practice. Then I received a message from her, "You look so hot in an all-black combination." I started to look around me because other parents were near me and I didn't see her. Then I noticed her on the opposite side of the practice ground. She promised in her changes that she will watch there every practice and if our sons ask her to leave she will leave. They didn't tell me anything, so I don't think they even saw her. All of this is positive from her, can't lie about that. I also talked with my lawyer and asked him about that postnup deal she told me. He said it is possible in the country where we live since according to law one of the parents needs to be foreigner to put infidelity clause and child custody in postnup. I was shocked to hear this even though I've read some positive stories about this in recent days. But then while he was telling me this, I asked myself, why the hell do I even talk about this? I don't plan to touch my wife. I don't care if she is with 5 guys now. Me and her as a husband and wife are done. Even if she comes back to my house, it will be only because of kids. So whatever. He told me papers will be ready to serve her during the next week, but he told me to take some time and think good about everything and at the end decide what is the best for kids and myself. So that's about that. She saw our daughter today. They spent a few hours together. She told me she did an interview at the polygraph testing and will answer questions on Monday, and she already goes to IC meetings. I told her that a DGAF and she started to cry a little bit, that she doesn't know what to do and she is trying everything. I told her she knows what is the one thing she was never supposed to do and she did it, and I left. Tomorrow I plan to talk with my family, parents of my wife, friends, and then during the week with my kids and their psychologist, and then with my wife. I will wait to see how my kids will respond when I tell them she might never come back to this house. Also, I need to see how she will react when I tell her divorce papers are ready. Then her job. I need to wait for that to see if that will happen or not because of her visa. After all of this, I will decide what to do next week. My kids are my first priority. I am still very pro-divorce, but I am open to bringing her home for some time until she settles down and realizes we are done if my kids ask me that, or if their behavior is not good. If bringing her home will help them, I will do it. Thank you. I worked 12 years for the family business, but my dad gave it to my sister and her fiancé, then begged for help when they abandoned him. I, 36F, was fired from the firm that my father had started only 8 months before. For background, I've been with the family firm for nearly 12 years. My grandfather on my father's side created a jewelry business that we own. It was passed down to my father, and I assumed it would come to me next. After all, I am the older sister, and I have been interested in business since I was a teenager. My father always told me that he expected me to someday take over the firm. My sister, 33F, never appeared interested in a profession. She only wanted to marry and start a kid. So if Dad was going to have an heir to the company, it was supposed to be me. This has always been taken for granted. There was no formal documentation of it, but I suppose I should have planned for anything similar. I had been my father's personal assistant for 12 years. I even abandoned my first job after only 2 years because I wanted to obtain real-world experience before joining my father. I did not want to come across as entitled. However, I left my job once my father requested me to start working for him. Despite everything I had done, I was kicked out of the firm in favor of my sister and her tremendously wealthy fiancé. My sister hadn't even been a member of the family for the previous 15 years. She made a few terrible actions, and my parents cut her off shortly after she turned 18. She had announced that she would not be attending college and instead wanted to explore and discover herself. That did not set well with my parents. They offered her an ultimatum. Either attend college or leave. Being the type of person she is, she opted to leave and live with her partner at the moment. They ended their romance after only 6 months together. Then she showed up at our door, pleading to be allowed back into the family. Before she went, she told my parents a lot of terrible things, such as how she no longer needed them and how she would be better off without a family like ours. She also said that we were not good enough for her because her boyfriend's family had a much better financial situation than us. She had insulted and humiliated us before going away. When she returned, my father informed her that the terms he had imposed previously remained in effect. If she wanted to return, she would have to go to college and earn a degree, regardless of what she selected. Otherwise, she may stay outside. My sister attempted to argue and fight her way back into the family. But my father was resolute. She chose to depart again, vowing never to return. For the next 15 years, we only saw her at family gatherings and never communicated with her otherwise. We discovered information about her life updates from other relatives because she refused to speak with us directly. My mother and I attempted to contact her several times, but because we were on good terms with my father, she refused to speak with us. To her credit, she kept her word and never returned until my father chose to make touch with her again. During that period, she sorted out her life, but not in the way we expected. She never attended college since she wasn't interested. Instead, she lived with a friend for a period, acquired a job, and began working to support the life she desired. I believe that event helped her mature significantly. She changed jobs frequently, but for the past few years, she had worked at an advertising agency. Our family maintained track of her life through other relatives. She knew about us as well, thanks to the same family. My father became very ill about a year ago and we were on the verge of losing him due to heart failure. The cardiologist informed us that his condition was serious and that he needed to make significant lifestyle adjustments. During this health scare, my father decided it was time to contact my sister and reconcile their relationship. By this point, my sister had matured significantly over the previous 15 years, and she finally accepted to rejoin the family. She came to see us alone, and we didn't chat much about her life because we were too occupied reminiscing about the past. She didn't want to make it all about herself, so she didn't reveal anything about what she'd been up to. The information we didn't obtain from her came from our relatives. We knew how she was doing professionally but not much about her personal life. Anyway, she seemed pleased to be back, and we were all focused on the reconciliation of father and daughter. It was a really emotional reunion, and I was delighted at the time, not knowing what would happen next. When she returned to see us for the second time, she brought her fiancé, which surprised everyone. She informed us they'd been dating for 3 years and were only recently engaged. None of us in the family knew about it, so we didn't find out through our regular channels. They'd kept it under wraps. The flow of information was not one-sided. Thanks to our relatives, she knew our father had some health issues, but she had no idea how serious they were. That is why she had not visited us sooner, and she felt it was inappropriate to announce her engagement at the time. Now that everything had cooled down, she decided it was time to introduce him to the family, so she invited him along. He appeared like a pleasant guy and I could tell he was wealthy. His clothes, watch and shoes were all costly. I felt glad for my sister because it appeared that she had finally found someone who fit her expectations. He was financially secure, had a clear vision for his life, and had his future planned out. After speaking with both of them, we discovered that her fiancé, like her first boyfriend, was the son of a wealthy man who operated a fast food franchise. Unlike her first relationship, this guy looked serious about her, and they were clearly in love. I was truly thrilled for her and complimented both of them. I never expected my father, or even my sister and her fiancé, to do what they did next. However, after only 3 weeks of knowing him, my father believed it was best if they take over the family business. He contacted me one morning and asked me to come home so we could chat about something. I was at work, running everything since my father's heart health had deteriorated, and I was essentially the boss at that point, even though he hadn't officially resigned. I knew retirement was imminent and I was convinced that I would be the next in line to take over as CEO. But that day altered everything. Suddenly, my sister and her fiancé were in the running to take over the business I had been running for years. When I arrived at my parents' house, my sister and her fiancé were not present, but my parents were, and they looked grim. After some casual chat, my father dropped the bombshell. I initially assumed he was joking, but when I learned he was genuine, I couldn't believe it. When I inquired why he would make such a radical decision after just 3 weeks of knowing him, he said he had reasons but refused to discuss. After much fighting, Dad finally revealed that he thought my sister and her fiancé would be better at operating the firm than I was. The cherry on top was that he thought gifting them the business would be a welcome gift, to bring them back into the family, as they were about to begin a new chapter by getting married. He thought this would be their wedding gift. I attempted to persuade him that this was a terrible idea. A wedding gift doesn't have to be the size of an entire business simply because the guy appeared wealthy. In addition, my father had always told me that when he retired, I would inherit the firm. I had formed my entire life around that expectation, and now he was taking it away from me to give to individuals who had been out of our lives for 15 years. I tried to tell him that maybe he could make us business partners and bargained and negotiated with him because we were talking about my future. But my father was adamant that it would be better if they took over. He contended that because my sister's fiancé's father had previously established a successful business, they would be able to grow our jewelry business twice as quickly as I could. I begged him for just one opportunity, but he wouldn't listen. I was heartbroken. Not just because I was losing something so important, but also because I had dedicated 12 years of my life to the business only to wind up with nothing. Worse, I still hadn't won my father's respect. If he had truly recognized the time and effort I had put into the firm, he would not have dismissed me. That was the day I resolved to cut all links with my family because I had nothing else to say to them. I had hoped my sister would fight for me, but she also let me down. She and her fiancé eagerly received the so-called wedding gift, which was effectively my life's labor. My sister knew I'd always aspired to take over the family business after my father retired. I had talked about it nonstop since I was 13. She knew exactly what she was doing when she took that gift. She was snatching my dreams and transforming them into her own. To make matters worse, she took to social media to thank our parents for the magnificent wedding gift and then used the post to announce her engagement. The most upsetting aspect of it was that no one from the family contacted me after that. When I left my father's house, It felt as if everyone had stopped caring about me. I felt used, and it appeared that the 12 years I had spent in the business had been completely wasted. Fortunately, I had enough savings to fall back on. For the following few months, I did nothing except try to put my life back together. Everything had fallen apart. That happened 8 months ago. Since then, I began therapy because I could feel myself slipping into depression and knew I wanted to treat it before it worsened. Seeing my sister's social media posts made me nauseous, so I blocked her. I also informed my relatives that I was no longer in contact with my family and did not want to hear anything about them, no matter how important the news. They followed my desires and kept everything a secret from me. As a result, I had no notion that my father's health had been slowly declining over the previous few months. My sister and her fiancé seem unconcerned about it. I only found out a week ago, when my father contacted me from the hospital. He informed me that he had suffered a cardiac arrest in the middle of the night and asked me to come see him. Because I had banned his number, he called me using someone else's phone. I felt awful for a moment, but then I remembered what he had done to me 8 months before, and the remorse subsided slightly. After that phone call, I promised to come meet him immediately. I dropped everything and headed to the hospital. When I arrived, my mother and father were present, but my sister and her fiancé were nowhere to be found. I found this perplexing because I assumed they were close, especially since they ran the family business. I couldn't help but ask my parents where my sister and her fiancé were as soon as I walked into the hospital room. With great regret, my father informed me that my sister and her fiancé had both claimed to be too busy to come. I was shocked. Running the business for 12 years taught me that it was a profitable venture that almost ran itself. Unless there was a serious catastrophe, there was no reason to be at work all the time. That's how it worked when I was in control. I couldn't say how things were going under their control, but when my father said they were too busy to see him, I inquired whether they had paid him any visits since his heart attack. He admitted they had not. He had contacted them, but they had only texted back, stating they were too busy and would come after he was discharged. These details astounded me, and I could tell my father recognized he had made a huge mistake in handing over the reins of the firm to my sister and her fiancé. He explained that one of the main reasons he called was to apologize for what he had done. He stated that he felt guilty and sorry for pushing me out of the firm despite all of my hard work and effort. Now he wants to make things right by inviting me back into the family and the business. He described how heartbroken he was when my sister and her fiancé did not arrive at the hospital. He realized that they didn't care about him in the same manner that he cared for them. He also informed me that this was not the first time they had refused to show up for him. They had become increasingly estranged in recent months. After he handed over the firm, their visits grew less frequent. They used to come every other day to check on him when his health began to deteriorate, but now they claim they are too busy with work to come by. This did not set well with him. Or me, because we both know no one is busy. It wouldn't have been difficult for them to take an hour out of their day, especially given they lived just a few blocks away from my parents' house. My father had said nothing at the moment, but they had passed a limit, and he could no longer take their contempt. He wanted to reclaim his firm and give it to the person who actually deserved it. Me. We discussed everything in the hospital room, and he formally invited me back into the firm. I was overjoyed. My father apologized for everything, and while I wasn't fully over it, I forgive him since gaining back what I had worked for meant everything to me. If forgiving my father was the price, I was willing to pay it. The difficulty now is that my father had previously discussed this with my sister. He informed her he wanted her to leave the business because he had discovered that, while he had always cared for her, she had never been there for him. He couldn't stand the disrespect any longer, so he resolved to reclaim the company and give it to the rightful owner. He told her that they'd have to look after themselves. Unsurprisingly, my sister was upset. For whatever reason, she blamed me for everything. She contacted me this morning and lashed out, accusing me of being a horrible person and said she couldn't believe I would be so rude to her. I'm not really sure why she's acting so crazily. I think there's something we don't know, but she's acting as if she's lost everything. And it's all my fault. The reality is, I believe this is her own fault. She chose not to see our father after he suffered a cardiac arrest, which is a dangerous situation. She could have taken time off work to visit him. She was the one acting selfishly, and now I'm receiving what I've always deserved. 8 months ago, she had no trouble receiving a present she knew she didn't deserve. So why should I turn my back on something I actually deserve? She was devastated, and I tried to console her, but she hung up mid-sentence. Now I'm wondering if I'm the evil guy here. I feel like I'm constantly taking the blame, and I'm fatigued. Am I a jerk for allowing my father to ask my sister and her fiancé to leave the family business so that I could retake it? Update 1. Thank you all very much for your responses. I felt I didn't deserve my sister's criticism, but hearing it from you has reassured me. If people who know nothing about our lives believe I deserve the business, I have nothing further to say in my defense. I don't think I have to either. It's been a few days since I last spoke with my sister and I haven't heard back. The good news is that she hasn't blocked me on any platform, so I suppose that's a good indication. I can't shake the notion that there's more going on than she's admitting. I find it difficult to imagine that someone with a wealthy fiancé would act in this manner simply because they lost control of our firm. I believe that not everything is as it appears with her fiancé. Some of you inquired about this in the comments section of the original piece, but I did not address it since I did not believe it was important at the time. Now, however, I assume her fiancé's family is struggling financially. According to what I've heard, his father's company has suffered considerable losses over the last year and has been unable to recover. I believe my sister and her fiancé saw our family business as an opportunity to sneak in and take over as a backup plan. I still don't understand why my sister reacted so strongly when she realized that I was being allowed to rejoin the company and she was being asked to step down. If her fiancé's family was still financially secure, she wouldn't have to be concerned. However, she was distraught. And something about the situation did not make sense. I have a hunch she will tell the truth shortly. Fortunately, my father never signed any agreements or contracts that would have legally passed the firm to my sister and her fiancé. That would have been disastrous. He remained CEO the entire time, with them reporting to him in the same position I had held. He had been educating them to take over, but it is now evident that this will not happen. I spoke with my father, who informed me that my sister is quite sad, but he cannot afford to worry about her sentiments right now. His primary objective is to transfer the business to me so that I can take control and manage everything. He's already working with a lawyer to create the required documentation, and I should be taking over very shortly. To be honest, I'm looking forward to the adjustment, and my sister's dramatic outbursts can't bring me down right now. Update 2. Hello everyone. It's been a few weeks since my last post, and I wanted to give you an update. I am now the new CEO of my father's jewelry firm. The transition is complete, and it feels fantastic to finally be in charge. There were some difficulties throughout the changeover, primarily due to my sister's intervention, but it's finally complete. My sister is not thrilled about any of this, and I can now confirm that my theory was true. She and her fiancé were attempting to establish a foothold in our family business, despite knowing that her fiancé's father's company was faltering. They saw the family firm as a safety net in case his father's company failed. Apparently, it was my sister's idea to persuade my father to reintegrate them into the family by transferring the firm to her fiancé. Unfortunately, my father fell for it. He revealed to me recently that he was not thinking clearly at the time. He was enticed by the thought that someone from a successful business family could run the company better than I could. My father first intended to keep me in my previous position, but when I stated unequivocally that I wanted to be the company's CEO or nothing, he became enraged. That's what caused the 8 months of anguish for both of us. Fortunately, my father came to his senses just in time to avoid a huge catastrophe. As it turns out, my sister's fiancé and his father's firm are in terrible difficulties, with their market credibility virtually wiped out. I'd heard reports that their business was likely to fail, but I didn't believe them. I assumed that if something significant happened, my father would contact me, and he expected me to do the same if I was aware. Unfortunately, neither of us contracted out, which was a poor decision. My sister recently revealed the truth. She contacted me soon before the move was complete, admitting that they needed work because they didn't know how long her fiancé's father could keep his firm running. She asked me for assistance. I told her I'd think about it, and I honestly don't mind hiring them. However, knowing their true goals from the outset, I can no longer trust them. That's what I'm fighting with right now. I want to help her, but how can I hire somebody I don't trust? I told her I needed time to make a decision, and she agreed to wait. Update 3. After careful consideration, I have chosen not to hire my sister and her fiancé. I know this may appear selfish to some, but I can't trust them. When my father offered them the business, they accepted without hesitation, and for 8 months, they had no sympathy or concern for anyone other than themselves. I do not want folks like that working with or around me. It was difficult, but I informed my sister that I couldn't assist her. As expected, she did not take it well. She came into my office the other day, threw a fit, and accused me of being callous and selfish. She even stated she regretted giving me the company back, which I thought odd because it was never her decision. It was my father's. Her assertion that she did me a huge favor by letting me take over the company was absurd. I might have tolerated her actions, but her statement irritated me. I informed her that she had never done me any favors, not now, nor in the past. She never cared about me, therefore she couldn't expect me to care about her right now. I calmly asked her to leave, but she refused and kept screaming at me, undermining me in my own office. At that point, I had no choice but to phone the police and have her removed. I'm too busy at work to deal with unnecessary drama. When the cops arrived, she didn't say much and eventually left. It's been a few days since the incident and I still haven't heard from her. I assume she'll leave us alone now, but even if she doesn't, I'm not worried. I'll get a restraining order if necessary. I stopped having S*X with my wife unless she was sober, and now we're stuck in a loveless, roommate-like marriage, unsure of our future. My wife, 35F, and I, 35M, have been married for 15 years and together for 20. We have 2 children, ages 12 and 14, whom we adore, and we try constantly to provide them with the greatest possible life. Things have been difficult over the last 3 years. I recognize that our children take a lot of our time and resources, with school, band, sports, and extracurricular activities. I am aware of the toll it may have on marriages. However, for the last 3 years, my wife and I have had very little closeness or intercourse. We've been attempting to work on that aspect of our relationship, but the last year has been the most difficult, by far the darkest year of our marriage. We seldom spoke and eventually became roommates, co-parenting under the same home. It was gloomy and discouraging, prompting us to consider divorce. Things became so dark that the entire home turned dismal. We sought aid through individual and couples therapy, which seemed to improve gradually. We began having in-depth conversations about what our marriage looked like and what we hoped it could be. Then things got tougher. My wife told me she was no longer in love with me, but simply saw me as a best friend and loved me in a platonic way. This absence of romantic love was one of the reasons she did not want closeness or sex. I was astonished and devastated. I grew angry and unhappy, unable to understand why the person I loved no longer wanted or desired me. Things deteriorated again, and we were back at square one. One afternoon, I had a heart-to-heart with her, asking where the source of the problem was. Her reaction was, "I don't know." She admitted to harboring animosity against me but couldn't pinpoint the source. This provided little information into how to fix things, leaving me perplexed and frustrated. We've gotten to the point where she claims she has no sex drive or desire for intimacy. She claims she only wants companionship, implying a co-parenting roommate dynamic. I asked her what I could do or what made me unappealing, and her response was invariably, "I don't know." She admits to loving me, but it isn't the same. She's felt isolated for years, and marriage seems like too much work. Her primary emphasis is on the children, and my efforts as a co-parent are important to her. I'm at a loss and simply voicing my frustration. It's difficult to accept that the person you love no longer cares about you. I feel as if I'm only here to give financially and as a parent. When she talks about companionship, it appears that she is content with having a nice father for the children and my financial assistance. She has told me that she has no interest in intimacy and does not want it right now. She stated that the only way she could have sex was if she was intoxicated, which I find abhorrent and unacceptable. I told her I wouldn't be a part of that because forcing herself into intimacy with booze or drugs is unhealthy. To my surprise, this angered her and made her more aloof. Despite this, we are both very honest and open. We have never cheated and we have full access to each other's phones, emails, and social media, but we rarely check. I inquired whether there was anyone else and she denied it, which I trust. We gently searched each other's belongings and, as predicted, found nothing untoward. We've always been forthright, even about difficult things, so I don't suspect any wrongdoing or cheating. Is it wrong for me to decline sex when she's intoxicated? I'm solid in my viewpoint since drunk or high sex does not sit well with me. I have no idea how to help our position, and I am feeling increasingly frightened and frantic. We're both fairly young, healthy and attractive. We both have stable employment and are excellent parents. I'm not sure how our lives brought us to this point. I'd appreciate some outside perspective and advice on how to handle something like this. It feels terrible to be unwanted and undesirable by my own husband. I despise it. We did some swinging in the past, which was enjoyable for a bit. We agreed to stop and have determined that it is no longer a factor. When we were swinging, our marriage appeared to be in good condition. We informed our couples therapist to ensure that we were not overlooking a potential problem. I asked my wife if our swinging experience had changed her opinion of our relationship, but she responded no. Our swinging was always done together, and it was entirely sex-based, with no emotional or polyamorous elements. I believe her because she has always been upfront and honest, even when it is uncomfortable. Swinging was her idea, not mine, and I trust her when she says it's no longer an issue. It could be something she needs to discuss further with her therapist or during our couple's treatment. Update 1. The term resentment has long been a central element in therapy. It's been eating me up inside, especially since my wife keeps telling me she has no idea why she is bitter or what's bothering her emotionally. I brought this up again with our therapist, and we spoke about how we'd been together for 15 years, married since we were 14 years old. We grew up together and welcomed our first child when she was 19 and I was 20. That dramatically altered the trajectory of our life. We lived in extreme poverty and faced several difficulties, with little social life over the past decade since we were too preoccupied with raising children. Our children, now 12 and 14, took up all of our attention. The therapist asked my wife a lot of questions about her emotions, and 90% of her answers were about the kids. It felt like she was reluctant to say how bad things were at times because she may feel guilty or ashamed, as if it meant she regretted having children. I brought this up during the session, and the therapist pushed her to look at things from a more personal perspective, rather than just as a mother. This was an eye-opener. My wife stated that she was frustrated that we had lost out on so many life events. She was clear, though, that she didn't miss out on other relationships, dating or partying, but she did feel like she had lost all of her friends. This was huge, as one of the most difficult aspects of our lives has been how secluded we've grown while raising children. I reminded her of the importance of friendships and how she should prioritize herself and her social relationships. For the past 3 years, we've talked about the importance of friendships, particularly with peers who can help us negotiate life's problems or just provide us joy. My wife always avoids this, despite her desire for external stimuli. Her children have always been the reason she hasn't invested in friendships or herself. At this point in the conversation, it was evident that many of her complaints were related to the children. I inquired whether she was upset with me because I got her pregnant so young, and she responded no. She admitted that it was illogical to blame me because it takes two to tango. I saw this as progress since it provided us with something to work on. We agreed to devote more time to nurturing friendships, both jointly and individually. Toward the end of the session, we addressed next moves. It was still unknown what would happen. I was forthright in asking my wife what her plans were. I had decided before the session that if she insisted on the co-parenting roommate scenario, I would turn 180 degrees and focus on myself. She essentially repeated the same thing. She doesn't want closeness or sex with me right now, but she loves me and feels horrible about not being there for me. As I said in my initial post, I brought up the brief swinging encounter and she assured me that it was not an issue. I agree with her. It was a mechanical solution to a problem that did not exist at the time. We tried it, agreed to quit, and went on. I also mentioned additional life situations that could have produced animosity, but we didn't make much progress in determining the fundamental cause, which was frustrating. I immediately told my wife that I would not be okay with the arrangement. I informed her that I had done everything I could and that this matter no longer involved me or required any more action on my side. I was quite clear that I would not tolerate this dynamic and that I needed to be with someone who actively participated in our marriage, worked toward resolutions, and was interested in sustaining an intimate and sexual relationship. I made it plain that I was not going to be a convenience or just a roommate and co-parent. I told her that I loved her and wanted this to work, but that I would only stay committed to the marriage if she was as devoted. If she wasn't, I wouldn't continue in a relationship where my efforts weren't appreciated. I assured her that I had no plans to leave or seek a divorce, but if this dynamic persisted, divorce was unavoidable. Of course, there were tears, and the session ended on a gloomy, unhappy note. Nothing was addressed, and I left feeling discouraged, determined to begin the 180 approach as soon as possible. The 180 method necessitates maintaining distance while remaining cold and transactional, which is unpleasant, especially since this dynamic was already chilly and transactional. I started following the 180 tactics the same day, informing my wife that I would respect the roommate and co-parent dynamic without complaint, but she should know that I wasn't happy and would never be okay with it. I also told her that if she didn't want to put in the effort, I would stop working on it. She agreed and retired to bed. I began establishing distance, focused on myself, and keeping conversations brief and transactional. When she requested for assistance with personal matters, I declined, which surprised her. She was outraged, accusing me of being juvenile, but I emphasized that she was now accountable for her own life and difficulties. We didn't talk much during the next 3 days, just when absolutely necessary. During this time, she grew visibly concerned and stressed, but I resisted my natural want to console and assist her. She cried one night, telling me she was stressed and worried about me because of my indifference. I reminded her calmly that she had chosen this dynamic, and that I too was taking care of myself. It's been difficult to be cold and distant since, As I've indicated, I adore her and want to touch and console her. However, I knew this could be manipulation on her part to keep me in the friend zone, so I remained the course. Now, a week into the 180 method, I've noticed a lot of changes on her end. I believe she is coming to realize that I am more than just a co-parent and buddy. A few days ago, I texted her a bill breakdown and a 50-50th split on our financial responsibility. She was enraged, calling it out of left field. I said that friends split everything 50-50ths, and as her friend, I expected the same. This made me realize how much I'd been taken for granted. Her pleasure and convenience had been at my expense. I pushed on, reminding her that this was the dynamic she had requested, and that it was still a good deal because she would have to fund 100% of everything if she were on her own. To summarize, while the 180 method has proven effective in many aspects, I remain concerned about the entire issue. There have been numerous eye-opening experiences, some of which have been difficult to confront. However, it has generated renewed energy and attempts on her part. She's talking to me more, and while it's difficult to say no, I hope this continues as things improve. I've also seen that she's making more time for herself outside of motherhood, which is significant given that she neglected herself for many years. I'm glad to see her become more like herself again. My goal is that as we work on ourselves, our marriage will improve. It's impossible to predict where this will go from here. We remain courteous and friendly, which is a positive indication. Boundaries are established, and expectations are extremely apparent. Whatever the conclusion, I will be satisfied with everything that has been accomplished. We will continue with couples therapy until we either reignite our marriage or divorce. A non-biased third party serves as a witness and advisor during this process. No matter what, I will always love my wife, but I will not participate in a sexless, intimacy-free marriage because we deserve more. Am I the asshole for making my son live with his mother, stepdad, and 3 step-siblings after he verbally abused my husband? This entire situation is kinda fucked and honestly I'm a bit heartbroken for my husband. Real names IDC I'm Sean 37M, my husband is Zach 36M and my son is 16 not saying his name. I divorced my ex-wife after she cheated on me for the entirety of our marriage. That was over a decade ago IDC anymore, son is mine already over and done. I met Zach when I was 28, my son was 7. Me and Zach hit it off instantly. I was finally in a place to start dating again and thankfully he was the first person I was interested in. We connected on everything me and my ex-wife did and a million more things. People say life has a plan for you and honestly I believe it. I'd go through a million more divorces and be cheated on over and over if I ended up with him every time. One of the big things was my son. Zach was hesitant at first just because of the situation but he wanted a family badly and I was excited for him to meet my son. After dating for a year I talked to my ex and told her I'm introducing our son to a guy I'm seeing, told her it's serious and I see a future with him. She was happy for me. We have a very good relationship now. Just told me to tell her when I was going to do it so she could be prepared if our son had any questions for her when he visited next. Zach and my son were best friends. Did everything together. They loved playing Minecraft together. They spent hours sitting in front of the TV. I loved watching them. I was so fucking happy the first person I found after my ex was this amazing. After about 6 months I asked Zach to move in and the rest is exactly as I've been describing. Amazing. My son started calling Zach his other dad when he was 10. Very sweet moment which makes this hurt worse. Well, last weekend my son had 3 of his friends over. They were playing video games in his room and I just left to do grocery shopping for the week, so it was just them and Zach. I don't know how this topic came up but things got very homophobic. My husband was sitting on the couch and I guess my son and his friends thought me, and he left but it was just me. My son's room is connected to the living room, so if you're sitting in the living room it's not super hard to hear what's going on in his room if he's being loud enough. 4 teenage boys playing video games. One of them said how it feels having a F-slur, IDK if I can say it or not on here, as a father. My son laughed and said it was kinda shitty. They said my husband probably touched him when he was little and my son replied, he can try it now he'll get his ass beat. So not even being a dick to Zach but now also threatening him over something we all know he would never do. They kept saying shit like, which one do you think takes it in the ass? Probably the F-slur, at least your real dad still likes women. Just a bunch of hateful shit. My husband sat there listening to it all silently crying. Also Zach has spent a good 4 hours a day at the gym for the last 3 years so IDK who's getting their ass beat but it ain't him. I got home about 2 hours later to my husband sitting in his car with a bag packed waiting for me so he could leave but didn't want to leave my son alone. I asked what's going on, why are you leaving, and he told me everything. I tried to understand as best I could. I insisted he wasn't serious. He's just being a stupid kid acting tough with his friends, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. Zach left and I went inside and went off on my son. His friends left and I spent a good 3 hours going back and forth with my son. At first he was very unapologetic and kind of agreed with his friends. I asked if he actually thought my husband sexually abused him when he was younger and he said no, but kids block those kinds of memories out, so really who knows. I told him to pack his shit, he's living with his mother. Info: his mom lives 3 hours away, which means new school, new friends if at all, less private space as he'd have to share a room with his stepbrother, etc. Just everything that you'd expect going from a single kid in a house to one of 4. My son instantly changed his attitude. He was crying, begging me not to send him away. He didn't mean it, he was just lying to seem cool to his friends. I asked why he doubled down when they left and he didn't have an answer. I told him to pack his shit, he's leaving in the morning. Called my ex, told her the situation and she agrees he needs something drastic. What he did wasn't okay at all. Fast forward to now and my husband is back, but he cries every night. Honestly, it feels like he's mourning, which I don't want, because when you mourn you don't get over someone, you get as close to indifferent as possible to keep living your life without them. I don't want that. I want my husband and my son to have that strong bond I know they have and don't want them to throw it away over this. I don't agree with what my son did, but those accusations at minimum can ruin someone's life and at most end it. I'm disgusted with my son. He calls me every day and tells me he misses me and Zach and wants to come home. I stay strong on the phone, but after I break down and my husband tries to console me. Tell me my son can come back and he will leave, but no, I'm not doing that. I just don't know what to do. I miss my son. I miss coming home and seeing them spending time together. I've thought about therapy for him, but he said no. You can't force therapy on someone. They'll just sit there for an hour and piss away $400. I need advice. Relevant comments. The Book of Torment. I'd be contacting the parents of those 3 other idiots too. OOP. I told them what happened and why they came home so soon. Original plan was to spend the night over. They said they'd handle it and thanked me for informing them, but who knows if they actually did anything. Stoner Therapist 89, NTA. Therapist here, but obviously everyone is different, so take it with a grain of salt. Parenting is sometimes wildly difficult, and this is one of those times. You did exactly the right thing. There are so many lessons for your son to learn here. Just name a few. He needs to not only learn the consequences of his actions, but that some things truly cannot be taken back. 2. Trying to be cool by being an asshole for absolutely no reason will not end well. It will not only alienate the people who actually care about you, but the people who get off on being unkind will eventually turn on you too. 3. Most people do not get along with their step-parents, and he has been taking that for granted. Separately, if you let him back and Zach leaves, your relationship with your son will be forever altered, as well as your son's life in general. All the love Zach has for him and their connection can be repaired once he gets his head out of his ass. If Zach leaves, your son will know he ruined his father's relationship for the rest of his life. The guilt and resentment from that can cause huge problems later on in life. This can be worked on. It can be resolved. I strongly suggest making family therapy a requirement for moving back into the house with an LGBTQIA+ friendly therapist, who can get down to the root of how harmful this was and make him understand that. Individual therapy is also a great idea, but family dynamic stuff needs to take priority. Edited to correct names. Grimwall. This is great advice, but considering the man alleged he was possibly a pedophile, OP's husband clearly isn't going to risk his future on someone who is capable of being that callous. I wouldn't either. This is fixable, but it doesn't mean it will be. It's not any different if a blended family comes together, and the daughter accuses her stepdad of touching her. There was literally a post 2 months ago about this exactly. He moved out, divorced the mom, and refused to stop the divorce once she confessed her bio dad put her up to it so he could fuck with the mom. Kid thought dad would come back if it happened. Newsflash, he didn't. That said, everyone told him that his future wasn't worth risking it. Just because he didn't get a full-on accusation and a police investigation doesn't mean he should be asked to risk it. I'm saying the same here. Zach said he would move out if the son came back. I think we are likely beyond counseling, at least for a while, certainly not while he's a minor. There is hope in the future though, and this is the way. Neat Pen 6522, absolutely NTA. Your son is old enough to know what he said is wrong, and he also chose being cool to his friends over his stepdad, who has shown him nothing but love and support for more than half his life. Everything we say and do has a consequence, whether good or bad, and no one should be exempt from those consequences even when it hurts. It's the pain that teaches the lesson of how powerful our words and actions are. With that said, The consequences can be taken further to ensure that your son learns this valuable lesson. I think you and Zach need to sit down and make a list of things your son needs to accomplish this year while with his mother in order for Zach to feel comfortable with your son moving back at some point. Some examples. Volunteer in some sort of LGBT program for teens where he has to directly interact with them one-on-one. Counseling. A letter of apology to Zach and a separate one to you. A sit-down, probably over Zoom, with you guys, him, his mother, and her partner if she has one, where all his parents discuss how wrong his choice was, the real-life consequences to Zach that could have happened, how he broke trust with Zach and so on. He needs to see all of you adults band together on this so he can get it hammered home that you are united in this. Anything Zach personally requires from your son in order to move forward. The harsh truth that things may never be the same with him and Zach ever again. His words permanently impacted that. Update. This will be long. Sorry. Not going to lie, the entire OG post was basically a disaster. I expected a few replies with only one actually being helpful and then the post died. Didn't happen that way. So much back and forth and so much hate towards me being gay. I expected some, but holy shit. I was done with that post when someone suggested that me and my husband both abuse my son sexually just now. Disaster. I thought living in bumfuck Montana was bad with the homophobic shit I deal with. As for the update, I spent the day yesterday with my son. A lot of people accused me of not taking his claim seriously. I did. The first 30 minutes of our initial talk when this all happened was about if he actually was abused. He said no. I asked again when I got here. I made sure to let him know there is no one I'd believe over him. He won't be punished for saying the truth if he was abused for not, but I needed to know. Again, he said no, he was never touched or raped by my husband. On to the questions and his answers. Why would you say something so dangerous? My son said he was feeling rejected by my husband since as of late he hasn't been spending nearly as much time with him. Which is true. A large part of my husband's life is my son. Zach tutors him, he coaches him in his sport, basketball. He goes on morning runs with my son, he used to drive him to and from school before my son got his car. They both share a lot of interests and as a kid/step-parent dynamic they spend a lot of time together. Towards the end of last year's summer when my son was still with his mother's, my husband talked to me. He said he wanted to start spending more time apart, but not that kind of apart. He wanted to have more of a social life. He wanted to be able to do things away from us but not like separate, if that makes sense. He realized my son would be leaving for college in 2-ish years and my son was such a large part of his life he didn't want to become depressed after he left with nothing to do. I agreed and said it was a good idea and he had my full support as long as he still came home every night at a reasonable time and didn't let his relationship with my son suffer or anything. As of now, yes, it is different. My son doesn't need rides to school. He doesn't need tutoring. He doesn't do basketball anymore. Their hobbies are still the same, but my husband has been spending less time at home. It's not like he's gone all hours of the day and comes back at 3 a.m., but he has a healthy social life. IDK, how to explain it? Do you realize how dangerous it is to say something like that if it isn't true? He said yes and he didn't think anyone was listening. He was just going along with his friend's shit. That didn't make sense to me, so I asked why he stood by his statement after I sent his friends home. He said he thought he shouldn't back down from something he says. Kind of like a ride or die. IDK. I told him that's fucking stupid and never do that, especially if he regrets what he said and it wasn't true in the first place. He said he knows he realized that when it happened, but he just couldn't stop himself from keeping it up. It didn't hit him that it was serious until I told him he's going to stay with his mother. Why do you want to be friends with people that talk so much shit about your parents? He doesn't want to, but the kids bully the shit out of everyone they don't like and he feels like he's in too deep to back out now. I do understand, I had kids in my school like that. Bully everyone. They were cool to me though until they found out I was gay, then they fucked my last few years of high school up. I told him I get it to some degree, but he doesn't have to add into what they're saying. Small chuckle and a fuck you is usually enough to get people to move on from something. I also asked about them bullying him because they kind of were. He said yeah, but they're not that bad with it. They just rip into him every so often about having gay dads, and I guess over time it made my son feel poorly towards my husband. The distance my husband was setting with my son mixed with his friends saying the shit they did just added up to that. I told him I understood. I want to make it clear, I don't support what he said. I understand the emotions behind it though. Why didn't you talk to us about how you were feeling? He said he didn't want to start anything. My husband and he are still close. He didn't know how he felt and was more confused than anything. So why say something that would cause a fight if he didn't even know if he felt that way? I also understood this. At this point I think this is just one miscommunication after another. Open dialogue would have prevented all of this from happening. There were a lot more questions, but me and my ex ended with, "Do you actually feel remorseful for what you said, or are you just tired of sleeping in the same room as a 7-year-old? He's actually remorseful. Told me even if he was staying there all year he would still feel terrible over what he said about Zach. Reassuring him again if anything did happen now is the time to speak and I will believe him again, he said no. He started crying saying he just missed us. Emotional moment, we hugged, told him I loved him and that would never change. Ask him to leave the room so me and his mother could talk. We decided on a month-to-month assessment to see when he would get privileges back, ending with him coming home. There were conditions to all of this, like family therapy, solo therapy, cutting his friends off completely, which I would help with. He was against the solo therapy but came around. He asked if Zach was here. I said no but would ask him if he wanted to come next time, which my son smiled at. I still agree sending my son to my ex-wife's was the right move. A lot of people aggressively disagree. Which is fine. My parenting style isn't for everyone. One of you told me I should beat the kids up though, so like, do I really care if some of you disagree with how I patent IDK? Not really. Situation still sucks. IDK, what to say? I miss my son. He isn't coming home right now and I wish I was leaving her house with him. As it stands right now, son is living with his mother and her family. He will get his phone and PS5 and car back at the end of the first, second and third month. In that order he will be able to move out of the room he's currently in, out into the guest house at the end of month 4. Every month after that is touch and go, and we'll discuss at the end of each month what we think son will do. Bi-weekly solo therapy, and we will all do bi-weekly family therapy. We see it as he should do solo therapy 1 week, then family therapy the next. He can come back sooner. I want him back. My husband wants him back. He's wanted him back since he left. His mother is holding strong, but she also sees he's just miserable, so I think she'll break at some point and give up the guest house early. It is what it is. At the end of the night my son asked if Zach would want to hear from him so he could apologize, and I told him yes. I've told him yes a few times now. Zach would love to hear from him. I doubt he'd have to wait longer than 1 ring before Zach picked up. My son called him as I was leaving, so I know they spoke. IDK about what though? When I got home Zach was feeling like shit and blaming himself more for all of this. I told him it's no one's fault, we just needed to talk to each other more. All in all, I think my son is remorseful and he was just feeling trapped and isolated in a shitty situation and didn't know how to get out of. I feel for him and I wish I saw what was happening sooner. Thank you all for the advice. Or most of you. Some of you were just nasty and hateful. Someone on my first post called Stoner Therapist, something like that, gave good fucking advice. I didn't say it on that post, but if you read this good shit, thanks for it. Next update will be when he comes home. Hopefully it will be soon. Thanks y'all. Relevant comments. Scary Cycle 1508. I think my last verdict was NTA, so I can only reiterate that I do think you did the right thing. You removed your son from a situation that wasn't just hurtful to your husband, but also to your son, because the influence from those other kids was just disgusting. Also to your husband. It's definitely not his fault. He is doing the smart thing, developing a social life for when your son is off to school. Did you talk to your son about why Zach was spending less time at home? Did he understand that it was so he wouldn't be as miserable once your son is out of the house? Avocado_Mr. 284. With what Zach did, the issue isn't that he chose to develop a social life. That's smart of him. The issue is that he pulled away from this kid he had a very close parental relationship with, and gave him no warning or explanation. That's going to make any kid insecure and unhappy. Sure, OP could have explained this to his son, but honestly, in a perfect world, since Zach and the son were so close, he would have done this himself instead of being shielded by OP, and would have known to do this. Both OP and Zach did screw up here. Not on a massive level, to be clear. Just the ordinary kind of screw up which all parents, even the excellent ones, make at some point. It just sucks that it spiraled here, but I do think the bullying and discriminatory environment at school is more to blame than this mistake. Revolutionary Cow 7961. What your kid did is horrible, not gonna sugarcoat. But what your husband did and you allowed was bound to backfire. Who the hell ever heard of pulling away from your kid because he'd be going to college in a couple of years? And your husband didn't want to feel sad because he would miss him so much when he left. For God's sake, your husband needs to grow emotionally. Way to cause your kid to have a breakdown because he suddenly feels unloved and doesn't know why. I'm sorry, what the kid said was reprehensible, but if anyone is to blame here, it's the parents for being idiots and thinking this would ease your husband's feelings of loss because the little boy is growing up. He basically abandoned the kid with no explanation and pulled away. What did you think the end result would be? Consider yourself lucky he didn't go hog wild, bad kid. I'm sorry this comes across as mean, but I just can't get over doing this to a kid. Prompt No 2857. This is one of the most extreme punishments I've ever heard for a kid's first offense. This kid was getting teased because of his parents and was never coached on what to say. And now they are punished for 4 months because a parent overheard and didn't realize the child was a victim too. OOP, I never said this was his first offense. Most recently he asked a girl out, she said no, so he and his friends egged her car. This is his first offense, as in accusing someone of assault when it wasn't true, but I feel like that's a pretty serious thing to do and not common, so IDK. I doubt he will be gone for 4 months. Prompt No 2857. He didn't accuse Zach of abuse. He was deflecting so he wouldn't be ridiculed. He was in a position he wasn't prepared for. I know you don't want your son ridiculed and teased about being gay at school, because that's likely what would have happened if he took up for Zach. Now, for egging someone's car, that's a physical, not just words among friends, and deserves a harsher punishment because that's assault and vandalism. Mighty fine hotcakes. Thank you, stoner therapist from a fellow psych graduate. My comment was very blunt in saying y'all need to do the hard thing and go to therapy. Good job on being parents. It'll take time, but it will be time well invested for the well-being of your family. Stoner Therapist 89, reading the feedback on my post was so interesting. Gotten everything from being called a hero to, you're the worst therapist in the world. So as I said, very interesting. My family is constantly comparing me to my successful cousin, and I've reached my breaking point. I'm a 30-year-old freelance graphic designer, and this year's Thanksgiving was a total mess. My family gets together every year and my cousin Kevin's name always comes up. The way they talk about him makes you think he walks on water. Kevin works as a corporate lawyer and is the family's golden boy. He's tall, always well-dressed, drives a fancy car, and embodies almost every success stereotype that my family holds dear. Meanwhile, I'm just the person doing the art projects. This year, it began before Kevin arrived. We were sitting at the dinner table, and my mother made the first statement as soon as the food hit the plates. She did not waste any time. Kevin really has his life together, doesn't he? She asked, staring at me as if I should nod and agree. I just kept my head down and focused on the mashed potatoes. My freelance business has been doing well lately, yet none of them cares. All they see is that I don't make 6 figures in some high-powered profession, and that's all that matters to them. The night carried on, and the subject kept returning to Kevin. My aunts and uncles would not quit talking about him. Have you heard? Kevin's firm is preparing him for partnership. Alternatively, oh, and he just returned from a Maldives trip. It's as if they are enamored with him. I've learned to keep silent over the years. There's no point in trying to steer the topic when everything points to my cousin. But this year seemed different. I'm not sure why, but something inside me couldn't take it anymore. As if on cue, Kevin made his spectacular appearance. He arrived late, of course, and the instant he went through the door, all eyes were on him. He walked in, flashing the keys to his new sports car like he was the star of a reality show. Everyone came up to greet him. I remained sitting, observing on the sidelines as they virtually fawned over him. Nobody cared to ask me about my life or my job. I'd just secured a very great freelance gig with a popular independent brand, yet it was as if I didn't exist. Then came the kicker. During supper, my mother leaned over and remarked, maybe if you had stuck to a more stable career, you could afford a place like Kevin's. I could feel my hands tightening into fists beneath the table. I didn't say anything, but my insides were boiling. It wasn't just one comment, it was years of hearing the same story. I understand what they think. Kevin is the success story, and I'm the guy who could have done more. But here's the thing. Kevin's life is not flawless. He's unhappy at his high-stress work, and I know he's been in more failed relationships than I can count. He's told me before about how lonely he is, but none of this matters to the family. They just see the surface and they believe he has it all. Knowing this does not assist, however. Even while I understand his hardships, I can't shake the notion that I'm constantly in his shadow. Then my uncle joined in. He leaned down half joking. You know, Kevin could probably get you a job at his company. Maybe it's time to get serious about work, right? I tried to chuckle, but inside I felt like I was going to burst. It's as if they don't see me. I've developed a successful career, yet they don't consider it true work. They simply cannot respect it. After dinner, I found myself drinking more than I normally would. Everyone moved into the living room, where the talk naturally turned back to Kevin. They discussed his recent promotion, his new automobile, and the vacation he just enjoyed. I tried to join in at one point, casually mentioning the freelancing job I'd been working on, but before I could finish, my aunt interrupted to tell me that Kevin's firm is sending him to Europe for a large case. I felt invisible. That's when the memories came pouring back. Growing up, the story was always the same. Kevin was the kid I was always compared to at school activities, family holidays, and even birthday celebrations. It was always, "Look at Kevin, isn't he amazing?" Meanwhile, I was only there as the other cousin. I'm not sure what came over me, but I couldn't be silent any longer. When I eventually spoke up, the room became quiet. I said something like, "You people know I have my own life, right? It may not be a well-paying corporate position, but it makes me happy." The room lapsed into an uneasy quiet. My mother gave me the look that suggests she's disappointed without saying anything. No one knew what to say, of course. Kevin, as the golden child, attempted to smooth things over. He smiled and complimented my creative work, but it did not feel real. It seemed patronizing. That was when I snapped. I responded, "Thanks, but I don't need validation from someone who doesn't even know what happiness is." You could have heard a pin drop. Everyone was stunned. Nobody had ever spoken to Kevin like way, especially not me. My father swiftly drew me aside, muttering that I was causing a commotion, but I didn't care anymore. I was finished pretending everything was good. Without saying anything else, I grabbed my coat and walked out. I couldn't stand being in that house anymore. I was fed up with the continual comparisons and the sense of never being good enough. As soon as I arrived home, I opened Reddit and vented. I blogged about everything. How I'd been compared to Kevin my entire life, how Thanksgiving was the final straw, and how I was tired of being treated as if I didn't exist. The post received thousands of upvotes and hundreds of comments. People from all over shared their own family comparison stories, and I felt less alone than I had in a long time. Late that night, I received a text from Kevin. "I saw your post. We need to talk." My phone was constantly buzzing the morning after Thanksgiving. At first, I didn't even look into it. I knew what it was. After my Reddit article went viral, I expected some family members to see it, and they did. It was a mixed bag. Some responses were sympathetic, while others were filled with wrath. My aunt left a lengthy voicemail, unhappy that I had discussed intimate family affairs in public. Another cousin, whom I hadn't spoken to in years, sent me a message stating, "I understand. I have been there." That one startled me. Then came the message I had been dreading. From my mother. Her call arrived at 10 a.m., and I could already imagine what the talk would be like. I let it ring for a while before picking up. She did not hold back. She was unhappy that I had posted our family business online, and she demanded that I apologize to Kevin for embarrassing him in front of everyone. It was all the typical stuff, like how I needed to set things right and correct what I'd done. This time though, things were different. I refused to cave. I refused to apologize, even after years of quietly living with the repeated comparisons. I made it apparent that I was over pretending things were good. And if they couldn't accept me for who I was, I'd have to walk away. She was quiet for a time, perhaps not expecting me to stand firm like that. However, the call ended with her expressing her disappointment in me. It pained, but I understood what had to happen. Later that night, Kevin called me. I wasn't sure what to expect, perhaps another lecture, or some passive-aggressive attempt to smooth things over, but Kevin simply wanted to chat. I almost did not pick up. A part of me wanted to just ignore him, but curiosity got the best of me. I responded, and after a brief awkward chat, we decided to meet the next day at a local coffee shop. When I arrived, Kevin was already sitting at a table by the window, looking slightly less put together than normal. He wasn't dressed sharply. Just a hoodie and pants, which was unusual for him. I sat down, and after a few moments of small conversation, he got to the point. He apologized. He stated he had no idea how much the family's continual comparisons had influenced me. I nodded, but I didn't entirely believe it. I figured he must be aware on some level. He'd always been the golden child, and I assumed he appreciated it, even if he didn't acknowledge it out loud. But then he said something that took me off guard. He complained about his profession, including the hard hours, constant pressure, and the fact that his parents prioritized his career over his happiness. It was eating him up. He even admitted that he had been considering quitting for a long time but didn't know how to tell his family. He informed me that all the acclaim and attention he received didn't make him happy. In reality, it only made him feel more imprisoned. I just sat there, stunned. For the first time, I felt like we were on the same page. I used to believe he enjoyed the attention, but after hearing him speak, I understood he too was frustrated, just like me. We began talking more openly than ever before about how much pressure we both felt from our families. I told him how being compared to him my entire life had made me feel invisible, as if nothing I accomplished could ever measure up. Surprisingly, he said he envied me. He stated he wished he had the bravery to follow something he was passionate about, as I was with my design job, but he felt too constrained by the expectations placed on him. Then he dropped the bomb. He intended to quit his work and travel for a year to figure out what he truly wanted in life. I wasn't sure what to say. We were talking about Kevin, the guy who had everything, and now he was telling me he was about to throw it all away to go trekking or whatever. Part of me was stunned, but another part of me admired him for it. It required courage to walk away from a profession like his, especially because his entire family had been rooting for him for years. When he eventually told the family about his plan, everything went as expected. The same relatives who had been praising his praises only days before were now full of criticism. How could you throw away such a bright career? How about your future? It felt weird to watch. All of their admiration for him was disintegrating before my eyes. I couldn't help but feel satisfied. For once, Kevin wasn't being treated as if he were perfect. He was just like the rest of us. Imperfect and attempting to figure things out. As Kevin began arranging his vacation, I found myself respecting him in ways I never expected. He was taking control of his life by doing what he wanted rather than what others expected of him. And for the first time, I didn't feel as if I were living in his shadow. The family had finally stopped treating him as if he were untouchable, which seemed like a victory, not just for me, but for both of us. A few days later, my parents arranged a family meeting to discuss Kevin's choice, as well as my recent defiance. I went, but this time I wouldn't sit quietly. I told them straight up that if they didn't quit comparing me to others, I was going to cut off contact. I was not going to allow them to continue to make me feel inadequate. There was a lot of tension in the room after that, but I wasn't concerned. I had finally uttered everything I needed to say. I left the conference with a peculiar sensation of peace. I had no idea what would happen next with my family, but for the first time, it didn't matter. I was finally living life on my own terms, and it felt great. Update 2. 2 weeks had passed since the family gathering, and I hadn't spoken with my parents. Honestly, the silence seemed like an odd combination of relief and anguish. On the one hand, I was emotionally exhausted by the entire process, but on the other, I finally felt at ease knowing I had stood my ground. The last thing I told them was clear: if they didn't stop comparing me to Kevin, I was going to terminate communication. It had left them astonished. And the silence. Yeah, they were trying to find out how to reply. In the midst of all that silence, my phone rang. That was my younger sister. She typically avoided family conflict, but this time she called to express her admiration for how I handled things during the meeting. She told me she had also felt the burden of family expectations but had never been brave enough to speak up. Hearing that was surprising, yet it made sense. She's always been in the background, never making waves, so I guess I never considered that she may be feeling some of the same weight I was. Meanwhile, Kevin was already making moves. I received a message from him stating that he had sold his sports vehicle and was reducing his residence in preparation for his extensive trip plans. The guy didn't waste any time. I couldn't help but be surprised by how quickly he was going, but I had to appreciate it. He was truly taking control of his life and doing things that made him happy, which surprised me. It was bizarre to see him transition from the ideal corporate person to someone who consciously chose to walk away from it all. But the biggest surprise happened a few days later. I was sitting at home, surfing around Reddit, when my phone buzzed again. It was my father. My father isn't one for long chats or dramatic speeches, so when I saw his name come up, I didn't expect much. But when I opened the message, I was floored. It was a quick statement. "I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." That is it. It was a little message, but coming from him meant a lot. For as long as I could remember, my father had always been the silent sort, never displaying any emotion. So receiving this text from him felt enormous. Of course, not everyone agreed with the way things had gone. One of my aunts called and blatantly tried to guilt-trip me into apologizing to my mother. She went on about how family comes first and how upset my mother was, but this time I wasn't giving up. I stood firm, telling her that things had to change and that I would not continue to live under the same weight of expectations. I wasn't being rude, but I was direct. It felt like another tiny win to be able to set boundaries with them, even if they didn't appreciate it. I kept posting Reddit throughout everything, and the support I received from strangers was astounding. Every time I submitted an update, I received comments from folks who had been in similar situations. It felt almost like treatment. Seeing that other individuals knew what I was going through made me feel less alone. It provided me with confirmation that I hadn't had from my own family in years. Then one night during one of our catch-up talks, Kevin smacked me with something unexpected. He suggested I join him on his travels for a few months. He thought it would be a perfect opportunity for both of us to get away from the family stress and simply reset. I wasn't sure how to answer at first. The idea of taking a few months off was appealing, but I had never been the kind to take impromptu travels, especially with someone with such a tangled history. Still, it remained in the back of my mind. A few days later, my parents' silence ended. My mother called, and it was not the angry, demanding call I had anticipated. Instead, she was in tears, pleading with me to come over and talk. She didn't understand why I was furious or angry, and she pleaded with me to make things right before they grew worse. I agreed to meet with her, but this time I set the terms. I told her I'd come over, but first we'd have an honest chat about how her incessant comparisons to Kevin had affected me over the years. She pondered before agreeing. When I arrived at the residence, things were tight. My mother was defensive at first, not understanding why I was making such a big deal about things. But as I laid it all out, how the Thanksgiving dinner went, how she always bragged about Kevin's success while never acknowledging mine, it began to set in. I provided her specific examples, demonstrating how the family's fixation on Kevin had made me feel like an afterthought for years. At first, she denied it. She insisted that she simply wanted the best for me and that she never intended to hurt me. But as the talk progressed, I saw a shift in her. She began to realize how her actions, albeit well-intentioned, had caused significant damage. She apologized, and while I accepted it, I knew it would take time to heal. My father was also present, sitting calmly as he usually does. He didn't say much, but when I mentioned how suffocating their expectations had been, he nodded. That tiny act meant far more than any words could have. It was his way of saying he understood. The meeting concluded on a cautiously hopeful note. My mother stated she was willing to work on things, and my father even promised to attend one of my freelancing art shows, something he had never done before. I left feeling optimistic, but I knew it would take time for things to really change. Later that night, I found myself reflecting on Kevin's offer to go. Perhaps this was the ideal time to take a break from the family conflict and focus on myself. I'd spent years coping with their expectations, and now I had a chance to break away, at least for a short time. I've chosen to go. I texted Kevin and said I'd accompany him on the first leg of his journey. I wasn't sure what to anticipate, but I decided it was time to find out. Update 3. Departure day came quickly. Kevin and I boarded the flight to Japan, our first stop. I'd never traveled much before, so the entire event felt weird. The exhilaration came in waves, accompanied by a small amount of anxiety. There we were, two cousins who had spent most of our lives entangled in family dysfunction, set to embark on this big journey together. Before we departed, we agreed on one thing: no family conversations. This was our opportunity to leave everything behind and simply enjoy the adventure. The first several days in Japan were a jumble of unfamiliar sights, sounds, and foods. We jumped right into sightseeing, temples, busy streets, and neon-lit nights. Kevin appeared calmer than he has in a long time. He wasn't constantly checking his phone or discussing work. I began to see a different side of him, one that was unrelated to his work or his family's expectations. I wasn't sure what to make of it at first, but it was a noticeable departure from the Kevin I knew. After a long day of touring, we ended up at a quiet supper location and ate bowls of ramen. Kevin finally talked about his choice to quit his work. It wasn't just the stress, he continued. It was the knowledge that he had been living a life controlled by what others desired for him. His parents, his colleagues, and even our extended family. Everything he had done up until now had been for their approval, and he had no idea what he wanted for himself. It hit me harder than I expected, owing to the realization that we were more alike than I had previously assumed. Although our journeys had been different, we both felt shackled by expectations. His is the perfect success story, whereas mine is constantly being compared to that achievement. The more we chatted, the more the barriers between us came down. For the first time, we were having a genuine conversation, rather than the surface-level conversations we'd had at family events. Kevin said that he had always coveted my ability to pursue my passions. He told me that while I might not have the money or prestige, I did have something he lacked: passion. In exchange, I revealed that I had always felt inadequate next to him. It was a real, honest chat that brought us closer than ever before. Of course, things were not perfect. A few days later, we had our first major argument. Kevin, being Kevin, wanted to organize every element of our trip, including itineraries, backup plans, and spreadsheets of potential destinations. Meanwhile, I wanted to be more spontaneous, to go with the flow and explore without a set timetable. The conflict was inevitable. We ended up not speaking for the rest of the day because we were both too obstinate to back down. By the next morning, we were both done. We sat down to apologize. Kevin stated that his urge to control every aspect stemmed from his demanding career, where everything had to be perfect. I recognized that my dissatisfaction was not just about the vacation. It was deeper. It was about how I still felt compelled to prove something. We agreed to meet each other halfway. We eventually reached a compromise. Some days, we followed Kevin's ideas, while others, we let the day flow naturally. Once we found our groove, the trip was precisely what I needed. We trekked through the mountains, visited peaceful temples, and even made a surprise weekend vacation to the countryside. The longer we were traveling, the lighter I felt. It was like peeling away layers of anticipation with each new experience. I began to regain my joy, not just in life, but also at work. I even got out my sketchbook for the first time in months to draw scenes from the trip that had inspired me. Throughout, my phone rang with texts from home, largely from my mother. She sent updates on how things were progressing, but I kept my comments brief. I wasn't ready to go back into that environment just yet. Then one day, I received a message from my father. "Hope you're finding what you're looking for." It read brief and straightforward, but it had a lot of weight coming from him. I did not answer immediately, but the message lingered with me. As Kevin and I continued our journey, he began to worry about what he would do when it was all done. He didn't intend to return to corporate law, but he wasn't sure what the next step was. One night, I proposed that he consider consulting or teaching law part-time. For the first time, he appeared open to the notion. It was an odd shift. Kevin, who had always been certain of his path, was now exploring something quite different. But it felt like a positive change. One night, while scrolling through Reddit, I decided to share a reflection on how the trip had affected my outlook. I discussed letting go of the desire for family approval and how my relationship with Kevin had evolved from rivalry to mutual respect. It felt good to share, and the responses poured in again, full of encouragement and understanding. A few hours later, my mom texted me. She saw the post and told me she was proud of me for following my dreams. It was unexpected, but for the first time, I felt cautiously optimistic about making things right with her. By the end of the journey, I felt more in control of my life than I had in the past. I was no longer defined by familial comparisons, and for the first time, I felt completely confident in myself. Kevin and I parted ways at the airport. He was going to his next trip, while I was returning home. We both had a better knowledge of each other now, which I never imagined would happen. As I returned to my home life, I couldn't help but feel that it was the beginning of something new. My freelancing company was picking up again, and I had some huge ideas. And perhaps there was something else on the horizon, but more on that later. Update 4. Coming home from my trip with Kevin felt different in a way that I couldn't quite understand at first. Everything in my apartment looked smaller, almost as if it couldn't accommodate the new perspective I'd received throughout our travels. But rather than feeling confined or trapped, I felt more in control, as if I suddenly had room to breathe. I felt clear, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't weighed down by familial comparisons or self-doubt. I was eager to get back into life full force. When I went back, the first thing I did was catch up on my freelance job. I hadn't imagined how much going away would refuel my imagination. Within days, new ideas flowed, and I felt more motivated than I had in months. I began working with a few new clients, including a well-known company that I'd been wanting to work with for a while. After finalizing the agreement, I made an update on a freelance site regarding the expansion of my firm. The response was astounding. It wasn't just the upvotes or comments. It was the acknowledgement from individuals who understood the grind, who had watched me rage and now saw me thrive. As I returned to my normal schedule, my family began to contact me more frequently. My mother called and invited me to supper, and I noticed my father sending the occasional text asking how things were doing at work. They seemed to be trying, and while I admired their efforts, I remained vigilant. I wasn't going to let myself fall back into the toxic comparisons that had governed my life for so long. I eventually accepted my mom's dinner invitation. I was a little nervous, expecting the same old ritual of hearing about Kevin's newest achievements, but to my astonishment, everything was different. She was truly interested in my trip with Kevin, inquiring about the places we went and what the experience was like. For once, the topic wasn't about Kevin's accomplishments or how I measured up to him. It was nearly normal. During supper, my father said something that caught me completely off guard. He stated he was proud of me for making the decision to travel and pursue my interests. It was a simple comment, but coming from him felt significant. My father has never been one for lengthy emotional conversations, so hearing him accept my choices like that was more significant than he probably understood. It was unexpected support, but it strengthened my belief that I was on the right track. As the weeks passed, I noticed a change in the way my family interacted with me. My mother still made the occasional remark about Kevin, but she quickly caught herself and changed the conversation. It wasn't ideal, but it represented development. More significantly, I wasn't allowing it to affect me in the same way it did before. I finally felt in control of how much their comments influenced me. Then, something unexpected occurred. A few weeks after returning home, Stella and I met at a local art event. We had known each other since college, but I had not seen her in years. She was now a photographer, and we instantly connected over our mutual passion for creative work. We swapped numbers, and before I knew it, we were meeting for coffee later that week. It didn't take long for me to experience something I hadn't felt in a long time, a genuine spark. Around the same time, Kevin called me from Italy. He seemed more cheerful than I had ever heard him. He discussed his trips and the great experiences he'd had. He even said that he had no intention of returning to law. Instead, he was thinking about a passion project he had always wanted to pursue, writing a travel book. Hearing him talk about his future with joy rather than stress was a welcome shift, and I found myself cheering for him wholeheartedly. There was no tension or conflict between us anymore. We were just two people figuring out our own paths. Stella and I hit it off right away after that first coffee date. She was encouraging, positive, and truly interested in my work. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was with someone who accepted me for who I was, rather than comparing me to others. It was invigorating, and the relationship began to progress naturally. We spent more time together. And as I got to know her better, I understood how much she influenced my creativity. When I introduced Stella to my mother, she instantly asked, "What does she do for a living?" Normally, the inquiry would have made me feel compelled to justify or explain myself, but I didn't feel that way this time. I simply informed her that Stella was a photographer and that I was satisfied with her. My mother must have realized that pushing any further was not going to be successful because she dropped the subject, something that would never have happened previously. A few weeks later, I was presented with another significant opportunity. I was hired by a technology company to manage a design team on a big rebranding. It was the type of job I never imagined I'd be trusted with, and it felt like all of my efforts were finally paying off. I announced the news on an entrepreneurship forum, and the response was phenomenal. I couldn't help but think about how far I had gone from my initial venting post. Speaking of reflection, I published another Reddit post outlining the previous few months and how everything had changed. My relationship with my family, my closeness with Kevin, and my newfound confidence. It all felt like part of a journey that I could finally be proud of. The post went viral, garnering thousands of comments and upvotes from those who had been following along from the start. It was humbling, but also validating, to see how many people connected with my story. Stella had a significant impact on my creativity. Her photography inspired me to try new techniques in my design work, and we began working on little projects together. I felt like my work had gained new depth and purpose since we started dating, and I was excited to see where our cooperation would lead us. I'm now focused on the future. I intend to grow my freelance career, pursue new creative opportunities with Stella, and establish healthy boundaries with my family. I'm not completely healed from the years of comparison, but I'm on the right path. I can feel significant changes coming, and I'm ready for whatever happens next. After discovering my stepmom's secret Reddit account, I learned she hates me and my siblings, and it's completely shattered our family. Original post July 17, 2024. I'm really pissed off and want to vent. I even cried reading the things she said and I don't know what to do. I don't need any advice, I just want to vent. My father has been married to my stepmother for 5 years, he has been divorced from my mother since my younger brother was 2 years old. There is no beef between them and they have a great co-parenting. I have a 17-year-old sister, a 16-year-old brother and I'm 25. Then my father has a 3-year-old son with my stepmother. I found her Reddit account in a pretty random way. Since I'm only home on the weekends I let her use my computer, she forgot to close her email. She doesn't post too much but she comments too much. I was honestly going to close the email but it caught my attention that all the replies were from step-parent subreddit so curiosity won me over. I know, it's not a good thing to do and curiosity killed the cat. The first thing I saw was her last post in which she detailed things about my life in a random Reddit sub, criticizing my decisions and even lying to get people to support her. She has posts on that site talking about how happy she feels when my siblings are not at home, my sister adores her. But she has comments talking about how she can't wait for them to turn 18 and leave the house because she just wants to share the house with her family, my father and her toddler. It seems that she doesn't see us as her family. She has a lot of comments answering other people that it's totally okay to not love your stepchildren because they're not family and it's okay not to consider them one. She has comments talking about how much it bothers her when my dad and brother have sleepovers. They just watch a series in the playroom and then go to sleep. as she is tired of hearing the laughter of a teenager and can't wait until we all leave the house so my father can be with his real family. But what she hates the most is having to learn sign language for my little sister. It had always seemed strange to me that SM still struggles with sign language, but now I know that she never really put in the effort to learn. My sister always said that for many people sign language is very difficult, so I never said anything. But now I know that she always found stupid to learn how to communicate with my sister when my sister always tried to help her. I was too surprised by the hatred she has when my father spends time with me and my sister. Her jealousy towards us is so obvious that it disgusts me that there were so many people who told her how they feel the same way about their SDs. To the point of sexualizing things. My siblings are not problem children, they even love her very much, and what fills me with anger the most is that she is so false in front of us. Do you know the number of times I offered to babysit my stepbrother so she and my dad can go on a date? All those times she refused to let me take care of him, but now I saw comments that she left about how I am living at my father's house and I don't help her at all, only for other people to respond saying that she should give my father an ultimatum to make me leave because I'm too old to live with him and he has a new family. I cook my food, do my laundry, share a room with my sister, I help my father pay the bills while she doesn't, and only come home on the weekends because I'm doing a police academy ALSOR full week. I don't even care if I'm making too obvious who I am. It was my father who told me to move back with him so that when I come back from the academy on Friday nights it will be a shorter trip. She sexualizes my interactions with my father, saying that it is not normal for me to sleep a nap hugging him and that I should know my place. He is my father. What the hell wrong with her? I'm so disgusted. Relevant comments. Grumble gal, this, show your father what she really thinks of you all. Because once you're all eventually out and she gets her wish, she's going to work double time to keep it that way and isolate him. Accurate neck. 6933. You won't get any inheritance. She will make sure of it. OOP, I don't think my father has anything to inherit to us. We all lose in that OOP on why she is in the police academy. OP, I live in a third world country. Half of my colleagues are women in vulnerable situations. The only way out they found was to get into the police because here you get free healthcare, education and money. Women who have left their children to walk forward in the only way they found. You demonstrate your privilege by criticizing and being judgmental about someone just because of their work without knowing everything behind it all. OOP on if she has had a relationship with her stepmom and if they have talked on a regular basis. OOP, honestly, I would have taken the time to sit down with her and chat about how she feels before I knew all of this. She's had years to adjust. But now? I don't give a shit about what feels a person who says I want to fuck my own father and that learning sign language is a waste of her time when my sister feels bad for not being able to communicate with her too much after years. Nothing. Nothing justifies being jealous of a daughter with her father, nothing justifies her comments. It's one thing to say you're stressed and another to make up things on the internet about your stepdaughter. I deleted the post. July 17, 2024. Hi, I decided to delete the post because for now I can't tell anyone what happened because I'll basically be locked up in the academy until Friday morning. In fact, I shouldn't even be using my cell phone now. Someone with too much free time shared the situation in that sub of step parents to warn my SM. I have screenshots of everything, including a video showing that it is her email and showing the comments. If she sees that post, what will she do? Delete the account? I already have the proof. But I don't want my siblings to find out before I tell them, and I know that those types of posts usually end up in those TikTok that re-upload posts without permission, so I prefer to delete the post so that it doesn't stand out even more. Although my siblings don't use Reddit or that kind of content. I'm going to post again in that sub when I talk about everything with my family, so I hope Redditors know how to keep the secret of the post for now. I know they won't, hahaha. Being a stepmom is hard. Yes, one thing is feeling that you're having a hard time, and another totally different thing is making a post saying that you hate it when your stepdaughter is around her father because you think she's going to *CK him, TF. It is not the same to say being a step-parent is stressful, than to say honestly learning SL is unnecessary. BC when the girl turns 18 I will not see her again. It is a waste of time since she can read lips. Also some people complained about me hugging my dad. I also take a nap hugging my mother or my siblings. I'm sorry for having a family that loves me and are not perverts who see a hug as something sexual. Probably next week I will be able to maybe give an update. The academy keeps me working almost all day. Comments elegant_crab_7500. Oh honey, my heart breaks for you. You do though, sound very mature and responsible. I have helped my sister raise my niece who is now 23 and is totally alienated from her dad, who left my sister for his now wife when my niece was only 10 months old. And stepfamily because her stepmom is much like yours but has done far worse things, but then in a narcissistic way blamed it on my sister and I. My niece acts very tough and nonchalant about it, but a good few months ago, we were watching Hope Floats, and she just burst into tears sobbing, "Why doesn't Dad love me? What did I do wrong?" There is no perfect outcome for this sadly, but I do feel that she needs to know that you know, and so do your mom and siblings. If possible, do it in a calm, factual way that protects your integrity. From my experience, do not respond and/or mirror or act like her. Always maintain your dignity and equilibrium in spite of what people here might say. Always maintain the upper hand. My sister and I did not, and sadly reacted to a lot of what my niece's stepmom did with rage. She, as any good narcissist, would in turn use this against us. I talked with my siblings and my mom, July 20th, 2024. Hi, for now I'm going to post this little update here since I haven't spoken to my father yet, but I spoke with my siblings and mom. I told my dad that I was staying at a friend's house when I left the academy, but I actually went to my mom's house and told her everything. She doesn't even know what Reddit is. That site isn't used too much here. But I translated the comments and posts for her. I showed her the videos and my mom was furious. I explained to her that in the comments it's Madre Biologica. I was confused about it too the first time I read that, also with SM. So my SM also made comments and posts complaining about my mother, being that they have always had a cordial treatment. But still my SM was lying, saying that my mother was troublesome. No one in the comments said anything. Everyone supported her and they recommended that she should move far away with her legal family. Far away from the problematic BM and kids. First we told my brother, who was also upset and said that she was a fake, but that he has seen her ignore my sister and pretend that she does not see or hear her a lot of times. He explained that like me it also seems strange to him that SM has not yet learned sign language. My siblings spend a lot of time at my father's house. Just like English or Spanish, sign language is much easier to learn if you live with someone who uses it every day. Therefore it is strange that SM doesn't use it. He said that even my father has offered to pay for her classes, but she says she doesn't have time. We asked him if he noticed any other behavior of that kind, and he said that SM doesn't let him take care of our younger brother, which she also does with me, but curiously she does let our sister take care of him, so I don't understand that. Other than that, she's never treated him badly or anything like that. At the time of telling my sister she was the most hurt, she cried especially because of SM's comments towards me, calling me a whore. It's kind of ironic how the comments towards her affected me and the comments towards me affected her. Haha. Something that my sister noticed that I didn't is that almost all of SM's comments are criticizing me, my sister and even my mother, but my brother she has only criticized sleepovers or when he comes back late from being with his friends. But she has criticized my and my sister's clothes, made up things about my life, confessed that she hates it when we hug our father, she said we're too clingy. She talked badly about my mother, etc. My sister said it's sexist and maybe she's got some mental problem. My sister said she always believed SM didn't really hear her and she maybe wasn't speaking well and didn't understand her. I think that's the shittiest thing of all. My sister's greatest pride is being able to pronounce some words no matter how short they are or if they sound like noise for some people. We understand her, but SM made her feel insecure every time she ignored her. I know that my sister always justified that by believing that it was her mistake and that SM made an effort to learn, but it was simply more difficult for her, but now we know that no, she was never interested in learning. I'm getting mad again as I write this, sorry. My mother said she was going to talk to both of them, mainly because even though it's an anonymous site, SM's way of expressing herself is sick and she's not going to let my siblings be around someone like that. Oh, but she's venting, being a stepmom is lonely. I received comments like that. It's not the same to say I feel lonely and I feel stressed, than to say my stepdaughter behaves like a slut, just because me and my minor sister uses a bikini for the pool. Her account is old, she's been leaving comments like that for years. With lies, with complaints we never heard before, it's just messed up. We arranged that we're going to tell our father all together and show him everything, so we're probably going to tell him tomorrow because I need to leave for the academy on Monday. My SM account has not been deleted. It's crazy how she makes things up to get approval from strangers. At this point I don't even know if she's crazy or a mythomaniac. I would like to go back to her email since the password is saved, but I don't know if she will receive a notification of that because this time I closed the account. Update, July 22nd, 2024. We talked to my father over the weekend. For now he is staying at my mother's house. It is a complicated situation since in the middle of everything is my half-sibling too. During the weekend I went to my father's house and the first thing I did was tell my stepmom separately that I've seen her Reddit account and I'm going to talk about it with my dad. She told me that I can't condemn her for something she uses as an intimate diary, but I told her that this is not a diary, it is a social network where she makes her problems and lies public. If someone other than me discovered her account, then what was going to happen? Were they going to believe all the things she invented? If her identity was revealed on that account by someone else, I would have too many problems and could even be kicked out of the academy. Again, there's a big difference between saying I'm stressed and, my stepdaughters behave like sluts around their father. I simply told her that my mother and sister also know it and would come to talk about it too. She, for obvious reasons, just went to lock herself in her room, not wanting to talk with me. Once we talked to my father, I showed him most of the posts and comments. There were so many crazy comments that I think it would take me too long to read them all because they were just so long too. She's that kind of people who comments the bio of their lives in the posts of other people. My father got angry. My SM never expressed having a single problem with us like that. The situation would be different if we knew what she thinks about us. My father went to look for my SM, who refused to talk about it and was mostly angry with me for violating her privacy. My father told her that she's insane for thinking that my sister and I sexually provoked him, that he can't believe the way she talks about my sister and the happiness she expresses every time my sister goes to the hospital and is not home. How she expresses to be counting the days until my sibling stops going to the house forever. My father told her that she knew that he is a father and that he would never leave us aside. She made her decision, and even so, instead of talking about her problems, she decided to create an account to play at being a victim. She said she needs a place to vent, but he told her that venting is not the same as telling lies. Venting is not the same as hating your stepdaughters and talking horrible things about them, and she could have spoken about it and not just lied. They argued a lot, but it didn't get anywhere because she kept defending herself, and my father only told her that it was over. My mother told my father that she is not going to let my sister and brother be around a woman who is clearly mentally unstable because no normal person thinks like that. After arguing too much and even trying to make SM understand that what she did is wrong, she just justified herself all the time. My father went with us and told her that he is going to come back just to see my brother every day, but that he no longer trusts her and never saw that side of her. She lied for so many years. Nothing really went as I expected. I think I at least hoped that she could apologize, but I think she doesn't even think that what she did is wrong. In her mind, everything was totally justified because being a stepmother is difficult, but nothing justifies her being so cruel and poisonous. But yeah, that's what happened. I think it's hurtful to know that someone can hide that much darkness inside. I wasn't too close with her, but I liked her, to the point of sharing my clothes and things with her, so I also feel sad about it. Mostly for my dad. Me gustaría simplemente decir que ella está demente, pero creo que eso daría espacio a justificar su comportamiento. Ella simplemente es una víbora de dos cabezas. Editor's note. Translation. I would like to just say that she is insane, but I think that would give room to justify her behavior. She is simply a two-headed viper. Relevant comments. Not so religious now. Is her account still up, or did she delete everything? She's absolutely insane and a narcissist if she can't see that what she did was wrong. I hope it all works out for you guys. Stay strong. OOP. The last time I looked, it was still there. I have her email password saved on my computer, so if she doesn't delete it, I'll tell my sister to do it for me. Some people told me that they have recognized some of her comments, so yes, I will delete the account if she doesn't de-kill the messenger one. Wow, just wow. You think you know someone and then 1 second, bam, I am so sorry you and your family are dealing with this. SM is off her rocker. Does she need constant attention and approval? She needs therapy and most likely the whole family, because this is a traumatic event and major trust issues are now forming. Stay well, stay strong. OP, new updates. Little tiny update. August 25, 2024. 1 month later. Hello. It's been a while and I honestly forgot to make an update. Not many things have happened, but I just want to update for people who were worried. My younger brother has been visiting us. Our father still lives at my mother's house. Luckily, my stepmom lets my dad bring him home some days of the week and on weekends. I deleted her account weeks ago. She didn't tell me anything about it or if she saw any TikTok or post about this. Maybe now she's afraid to use Reddit or something like that. I only deleted the posts, but there were too many comments and I honestly didn't want to waste my time deleting them one by one. I'm not sure if comments are automatically deleted with the account as well. I'm not going to talk too much about her and my father's relationship, but she continues to deny that she did anything wrong and has a very misogynistic way of thinking about women, and apparently she does not intend to change her way of thinking. It's too crazy how now we know her dark side, but at the same time she's still her with my little brother and even my father. My father is separated from her for now because he doesn't have money to pay for the divorce. She said that if they come back together she will not let me enter her house after what I did, so my father decided to stop trying with her. I have no idea what legal arrangement they have on the house or what will happen when they divorce, but I guess my father is going to leave the house to her and he's going to find another place to rent in order for my younger brother to suffer as little stress as possible from a separation. For a toddler, moving is a lot of anxiety, so it's better for him to stay comfortable in his place. I wouldn't have any problem with that, and neither would my siblings. I prefer my brother to have a home and suffer as little as possible from the separation. So yes, that has happened. I'm surprised that a month has passed. I feel like it's been 7 years, but these kinds of serious processes last month, so nothing interesting or anything like that has happened. For now, I'm glad my little brother can be with us. Update 2, October 5th, 2024, 1.5 months later. Hello, it's been a while since I last posted here. I just wanted to give one last update before leaving this for a few months, since things like divorces take a lot of time and long processes, much more so when minors are involved. If my father and SM agree on everything, the divorce process can be finished in 3 months, but if not, it can last up to a year. It all depends on them. This will probably be a pretty boring update, but I want to reassure people who are worried about me and my siblings. My father has screenshots of everything, even the video of me entering her stepmom account from her email on my computer. I don't think it will do much good during divorce since internet laws are a gray area here, but it's always better for him to have that just in case. Needless to say, SM will be in maybe 3 months, if everything goes well, officially only my little brother's mother and no more my SM. Luckily she lets my little brother come to my mother's house and spend time with my father and us as always. He comes almost every day of the week. My father is going to leave the house to her so that the divorce will be the least stressful for my brother. At one point my father wanted to ask her to let me stay there on the weekends when I come back from the academy, but I told him not to do that. Honestly, I'm afraid to wake up and find her on the end of the bed looking at me like misery. I don't want to share a house with her at all. The only and last time I had a conversation with SM again, I asked her if she wasn't ashamed of anything and she totally ignored me. I think the most affected by this was my sister, who feels she has suffered discrimination from our stepmother, and I honestly believe her. My sister has told us about some situations that she let go of but now realizes were micro-discriminatory behaviors against her. Although they were not things like making fun of her in front of her face, there are microaggressions that we often decide to ignore, but they are done with malice. For example, my brother said that SM once said that my father's sons salen bien del horno. At the time he took it as a random comment. Maybe we are overthinking. But now he thinks it was something with double intention towards me and my sister, like saying that we didn't come out well. Again, things we like to ignore and think, nah, it was just a random comment. She has never apologized. She has the kind of mentality that the husband is only the wife's man and the partner comes before the children, which in my opinion is bullshit because she's only jealous of me and my sister. Imagine being jealous of your husband's daughters. SM strongly believes that she didn't do anything wrong except not to have written that in a secret diary. At least she now admits that. Maybe in 10 years she will realize everything else. My father, for obvious reasons, has gotten tired of trying to talk to her in a mature way, so they are going to divorce, and I guess she expected it because she didn't make any fuss nor anything like that. Divorces are a long and expensive process, so for now my parents, and SM too, at least she's a good mother to her own son, are focusing on not letting my younger brother feel those chaotic vibes, and my parents are taking care to not let my sister feel too bad either. They will go for joint custody since my father could not take care of my little brother 24/7 because of his work, and anyway they would not give him to him since he does not have a house or all the things that the courts ask for. I think the least affected by all this is my other brother, who is in dad, she's a bitch. Just find another girlfriend mode, but I guess that's how teenagers are. Anyway, there were people who found some of the posts or even comments which surprised me, lol. I've also been getting harassment from people from that sub, but know that I've already deleted the account. Congratulations to those who found the account.